All right. 3, 2, 1. Hey guys, what's going on? And welcome to episode 251 of the KBMOD podcast. It is September 25th, 2016. And I'm going to get real close here to the microphone.
Yeah.
Because Brandon, it's me and you today. Just me and you.
Us. It's just us.
And this is
just us
this
and the
is,
listeners.
Us and the listeners. This is historic. This has never happened in the history. We've been doing this podcast for obviously 251 episodes now. Mm-hmm. And there has never been a cast in the history of the show, just me and you. We were talking about that in the pre-show. That's crazy.
True. This is the first time it's happened.
We've been doing this so long.
But you know what? Frankly, I think it's long overdue. Because I think
I agree.
We've got good chemistry, and it's about time that the world sees what we bring to the table. Just us, laid bare for everyone.
That's right. Exactly. I mean, we're adventurous people. You know, we add, there's more people in the mix. Absolutely. And, I don't judge anything that Brandon and I have brought into our relationship, but sometimes it's good to get just back to the basics and see that chem that has so far, I think, made us replace over 4 Sealy Posturepedics in the course of, how many years? Like 4+ years of the cast. So anyway,
I would say in private, it's becoming an expensive habit.
It is. Absolutely. So. But yeah, absolutely good to get back to basics. Katie Zen is not feeling well tonight, so I hope he feels better. Send him some love. If you're listening to just the audio version, I hope he's still not sick because it's Sunday. But you could tweet him at KatieZen18 and say, hey, how you feeling, bud? Just listen to the cast.
I would actually love for someone listening to this like 4 or 5 days after the cast post, like the audio version, just send him a tweet and hope he's feeling better. And he's been feeling better for days now.
And he's gonna be like, hey, he'll appreciate the thought, though.
He will. But that would be, I think that would be even better. Is he, it's already passed for him, but he realizes that someone is in that moment thinking about him, and he's already better.
Exactly. So I hope he feels better. And then Brad had something come up, a bit of emergency, so he's not able to be on. So we will miss both of them, but like we said, we will also relish this time together because I don't know when the next time this is going to happen with me and Brandon. And you know what? Your first time is always, well, anyway, they say it's supposed to be special, but for me, anyway, I won't get into it. But
this isn't, Scott, let's be honest, this isn't really our first time.
No, it's not. Exactly. It's just our first time.
It's not even our first time with the camera on.
That's true, too. I guess, oh, boy. Yeah, you're right. All right, so we'll get into this. So, let's first talk about happenings this week, Brandon. Anything to report as far as we'll talk about what we've been playing? Maybe, it's only the two of us, so I guess we could merge the two topics together. We don't have to be as
it don't have to be as structured when it's just us two.
No. So tell me about your week. How was your week?
It was good. I'm still, from kind of just a life perspective, kind of things have been busy, working up toward TwitchCon because TwitchCon's next weekend, and so there's a lot of hubbub around. If you're listening and
a lot to do around it.
I work at Twitch, obviously. So
wait.
Yeah, well, a new listener maybe doesn't know that.
No, that's what's funny is I joke, but there is probably a couple people that are like, wait, what?
Yeah,
they're actually gonna be like, wait, Brandon, what's it doing?
So that's been kind of busy, and just in my free time, I'm still on that WoW grind, because I'm kind of because I got in like a few weeks late, and Legion came out a little while ago. Like I'm kind of behind the curve in terms of what people are already doing in the new expansion. So I've been kind of trying to play catch up a little bit so that I can play more with people because other people are doing like higher level dungeons and stuff, and my character is not quite there. So I've been doing that, and I just I'm trying to keep it honest. We come here every week and tell you,
that's right. The last 2 weeks this is the Brandon check-in where we have to say how, last week you were like, you were honest though. You said you played more than you probably thought you maybe should have, or it wasn't horrible, but where are we at? Where are we at this week?
No, I think I'm keeping a good balance, but I've been playing at least a little bit each night, which I think is actually is good. I kind of want that habit where I have something I can play for maybe an hour or two before I go to bed. And so WoW has kind of filled that spot. But, it's like it's still, that desire is definitely there to just work from home the next day, or take a sick day,
Yes.
and just
Yes.
grind out a whole bunch of stuff. But I'm
Mm.
not doing that. I'm still trying to keep up other responsibilities. But it has it's pushed other games to the wayside. And like for instance, I normally Hearthstone's kind of my go-to kind of casual game. Just get in a few Hearthstone games to
Okay.
relax. And I haven't really played much Hearthstone at all. So it's kind of like that's the thing WoW does, is just pushes out the other games in your life.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's mostly what I've been playing. And I've still been playing a little bit of Pokemon Go because I'm looking forward to playing at TwitchCon, because like there's going to be a whole
Mm.
bunch of people there, and so I'm hoping like there's some good stuff at TwitchCon and I can have some fun with Pokemon there. It's gotten a little bit stale,
Yeah.
and so like I'm not really playing actively like I used to. I'm more just kind of like, I'll open it up every now and then, but so I want a reason to play Pokemon again, and I'm hoping that TwitchCon kind of reignites some of that.
Yeah, like last week, I think I said last week, maybe 2 weeks ago. Yeah, I just got rid of it, man. I wasn't using it at all, and I was never as into it as you were. I mean, I enjoyed it for like maybe a month or two, but if you believe the Twitch chat, Pokemon Go is dead, which I know it is far from it. But are you still noticing when you haven't been I guess you said you haven't been active in like going out and seeing if
Yeah.
people are still playing, but is that
I mean, I think
has that
like
died down a bit?
San Francisco, you still see a lot of activity with it,
Yeah.
especially because just the kind of downtown Embarcadero area near the water is sort of like the Santa Monica Pier. It's one of those spots where you can just catch a ton of Pokemon. And so I think people still play around there a lot because it's
Mm.
obviously it's fun to be catching a lot of stuff and catching new stuff. But I mean, for me, it's like the variety is not there, right? Like
Mm.
if I play kind of walking toward the train station or something like that, and I'm just kind of cruising around, I just see the same garbage Pokemon over and over. Like
Mm.
there's no variety to it, and so there's no once you get to higher levels, like there's just no reason to really play day to day, because like I can only catch so many like Pidgeys and
Right.
Rattatas, and
Yeah.
like that's just
Yeah.
not fun. So I think like I'm kind of holding out that the game, I think they probably have some much bigger plans for the game. And so I'm holding out that, playing a little bit now, once the game does get good, I'll be in a good position to enjoy it. And I think I've said that before. It feels like a game that
Yeah.
like is
Yeah.
really unfinished. Um, and they're going to have to work really quickly, because like that's the death of a mobile game, is when people
Right.
stop playing. And so I know that they've got to be burning the midnight oil trying to, make improvements, kind of like make some updates to the game to keep things fresh. Otherwise, they're going to keep seeing their player numbers drop. And like you said, I mean, it's like still one of the biggest mobile games. It's like probably the biggest mobile game of all time still.
Yeah. Yeah, I
But
think
like
so.
that's, obviously you want to maintain that dominance, and the mobile game space is a weird space. Like something that's really hot, even the biggest mobile game ever, can come in, make a big splash, and could be nothing a year from now. Like
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
how hot and cold mobile games can get. So I'm gonna play it in San Diego and kind of see what we catch there. But that's like, I don't know. I need a reason to still use my new like big backup battery that I bought. Um,
Yeah. I mean, they just need to add, they need to get on, like you said, they're working on stuff, but like the trading, being able to battle your friends very easily, like all that kind of stuff that needs to happen. And
yeah,
I think you'll probably see a big influx again
right.
of
And
people.
I think they've got
Again,
a
like still people are playing, but
like
I'm sure it's
it's
dying
funny
down.
too, because since the game is largely like outside and getting around, I
Right.
think they've got to probably add some features like you're talking about, like features with your friends or something like that, where I can enjoy playing when I'm inside, because it's going into winter in the U.S. And so like I'm not gonna walk outside like I do right now. Uh, if I'm in like New York or like
Unless there's some
Colorado.
real good stuff.
Right, like there's got to be a real reason for me to walk outside, or there's got to be a reason for me to like stay inside but play with my friends.
Hmm.
And who knows if they're even thinking about that stuff. But I think they'll probably see their player numbers dip a lot during the winter because people just aren't going outside.
Right. Okay. So okay with the still feeling comfortable with how much you've been playing. Like you're not like you're playing a little bit every day, but you haven't taken a sick day or
No, 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 no. But I've
worked
been
from home with the sole purpose of grinding so that you can
no,
be okay, the level you
no.
want to
I'm
be.
staying. I'm
Okay.
staying honest with you. But
That's good though, but that's smart. I mean, we joke about that, but man, when there's a game like when you beyond the fact that it's reignited your passion for WoW, right?
yeah,
Which is a huge deal. This was also something that we've talked about in your history that really, this game
it's
ran your
a
life
yeah.
for a while. So for you to be like, "Hey, I'm still like I'm functioning as a normal human for the most part,"
These are
that's
definitely very first world problems, but
oh, absolutely, sure, but
they
it's all
I mean
relative.
they are it is kind of a challenge when you kind of fall back into a game, like a game that you've had history with, like I
Absolutely.
have. It is tough to kind of to kind of force yourself to to get off the PC, and so I'm trying to stay responsible, but I have been enjoying it, like definitely on the weekends when I don't really have a whole lot else to do. I've been enjoying just just binging some WoW. Like
Yep.
it's such an easy game to just play for like 5 or 6 hours and not even realize it,
Yep.
which is obviously the danger, on a weekday. But if you're on a weekend or something and you don't have much else to do, man, it's just it can be a lot of fun. And the other thing too,
Hmm.
so like this weekend, I'm playing, and there's not a whole lot of food in the house, and so I'm like, we live in the Bay Area. Like
Hmm.
there's got to be multiple, food delivery services, and I know
Right.
there are, like definitely in San Francisco, but we live outside of San Francisco proper, so I was like, I
Hmm.
don't know what services are out here. Well, I found one. And I don't know what all restaurants they deliver, but it doesn't really matter because they deliver Cheesecake Factory.
Oh God.
and so
Wow.
and
Oh
so
boy.
last night I had Cheesecake Factory delivered to me at like 11:30.
Wow.
And
Wow, this
so
discovery.
if you think you had a better Saturday than me, you're you didn't.
Dang. Dang. Yeah, that's a lot of the, like that food delivery stuff and all that's definitely that's all that stuff's like a true West Coast thing.
Yeah.
You don't really I mean, I'm sure maybe I shouldn't say. I'm sure maybe in New York or bigger like cities that it exists, maybe in like Philly somewhere, but yeah, in the more rural areas or if you're outside the city, you ain't getting you ain't getting Cheesecake Factory delivered
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
in
That's why
Pittsburgh.
I was kind of surprised
Oh,
that
man.
it cuz a lot of that stuff does not deliver out where we
Yeah,
live.
that's pretty cool. So
Um
yeah, wow.
But yeah,
Mm.
I was pretty happy with that. So that's I mean, speaking of dangerous, dangerous things,
My God,
like
dude,
just
combine the Cheesecake Factory delivery with a nice wow binge, Brandon. You're gonna be up.
it's oof,
Brandon's
yeah.
5-10 pounds in a weekend.
For someone with a little bit of disposable income to spend on a WoW subscription and food
Which is-
delivery, man, you gotta really watch yourself.
Oh boy! In about 2 years from now, we're gonna mark this as the time that this was like Brandon's hint that things were actually crumbling, but it seemed fine. And they're gonna be like, "Remember Brandon before he was pulled out of his house in a crane on TLC,
It's one of
lost
those
his
things that
job and his marriage.
yeah,
It all
it
started
takes
with
you by
Cheesecake Factory,
surprise. It takes you by surprise. All of a
dude.
sudden you haven't left your house in a few days. A
Yep,
few days can become a few weeks.
months and then
It's
yeah,
rough out there.
exactly. Yeah.
The only other
Um,
thing is, right before the cast, I sort of impulse bought a new video card.
mm,
I bought a 1070 because I thought, actually, you know what happened? I'll tell you the exact thought process I had. I was looking up like some news and stuff from this week, and I saw some Battlefield 1 news. It was just the maps, like maps and modes, and then I saw a link to the system specs, and I was like, oh, okay, what are the system specs? And then
mm,
like for we've talked about system specs before, that like a lot of times the minimum recommended spec doesn't really mean anything.
right.
But for Battlefield, it's like, all right, what's the recommended spec? Because a lot of times Battlefield games kind of do push hardware, and the recommended spec for Battlefield was a 4790, which is, I have a 4790K processor, and the graphics card is a GTX 1060, which is pretty
Mhm.
close, if not maybe a little better than a 970. And I was like, oh man, like when I play WoW, my frames lag a little bit when things are, when things are getting heavy. Do I really just want to be like the bare recommended for Battlefield 1?
Oh boy.
And
Mm-hmm.
so And so I was like, yeah, you know what? I should just get a new video card. So I
Yeah.
grabbed a 1070. You know, that's the beauty of 2 day shipping is like, yeah, sure, I would like to have that on Tuesday. So
Yep.
yeah, so I grabbed a new 1070, and we'll have that. Have that. Just pop it into my rig.
I heard that you were possibly selling your 970, Brandon.
I am
Is that
actually,
true?
and I think.
Would you like to make or is somebody already?
Well,
Because I
before
mean,
too long after, one
yeah.
Jimmy Wisenhunt
Mm.
decided he might want a second 970, because that's actually that's why I like getting those cards, like
Yeah.
a stock overclocked 970 or 1070, like not the highest tier, but the one below, just like a really good version of those, is because they make great SLI cards. And I normally don't SLI, like I'll normally go for a powerful single card setup. But when you are looking to upgrade, the resale value on those cards is normally really good.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that's been my
They last a
strategy for
while.
like the past 2 or 3 video cards I've had, is I'm still able to sell it for a pretty reasonable price. And I mean, video cards last a long time as long as you're not overclocking and doing crazy stuff. So yeah, get a little bit of money back for get a discount on the new card, basically.
Very cool. All right, Brandon. Well, you've had quite a week. Cheesecake Factory yesterday. Some WoW. A new
Between
video
Cheesecake
card.
Factory, a new video card. I mean, I'm on cloud
I
nine.
mean, dude, that's gonna be a hard weekend to beat.
Well, that's why we
Yeah,
have
that's
TwitchCon
good.
coming up. We're just going to
That's
keep
right.
rolling into great weekends.
That's a good point. That's a great point. Um, yeah,
What about you? How do you
yes,
stack up,
yes.
Scott?
I don't think I'm near as I don't think I'm close to I mean, I didn't order any Cheesecake Factory, but my week is pretty good. As far as what I've been playing and stuff like that, I've been playing a lot of Counter-Strike, and on that front I just wanted to state a few things and give credit where credit is actually due. And I have to say that Valve has been, I don't want to say on point with the updates that they've been releasing, but there has been a clear shift, and I don't know exactly. There was recently a new developer who's been a lot more forward-facing and kind of like in Reddit and
Oh, really?
some of the comments, yeah, and like actively, it seems like trolling for issues. And there was a post a while ago where he was saying like, I want to work with the community on stuff, and they fixed. So they had released a patch that had inadvertently messed up jumping and crouch jumping. You were able to jump a lot higher than you should be able to if you spammed crouch jump. So you could basically get into spots that you shouldn't be able to boost into, which totally changes the gameplay on a lot of maps, right?
Oh,
Where
yeah.
so if you're watching an area on like Mirage or Mid, for instance, and it usually requires 2 people to boost into, that makes noise. You can expect that, but obviously if you look away and then only one person is up there, so it was a pretty big deal, and people were abusing it for the most part, but. They released an update that fixed that. I mean, relatively, I wouldn't say like super quick, but I think we dealt with it probably for maybe a week or a little bit less, and so that's been fixed. They also are continuing to add stuff into the beta build before, like, to get feedback and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. And they actually, there was a networking thing that was found, like as far as like rates and stuff like that, to deal with basically server choke, which is something that anybody that plays an FPS has dealt with, and especially Counter-Strike. And they basically updated the max rate in the game for people with better connections and stuff like that. And it's also a server variable. And it basically, if when implemented properly, for the most part, eliminates choke
Oh, wow.
from the game overall, which is crazy because that's something that's always been an issue. So it's been pretty exciting to see kind of the shift, because obviously it's been doom and gloom in Counter-Strike for a while. Despite all of the success, the betting scandals and all that, we had to deal with that. And then there was a lot of tone deaf updates where we're just like, what are they doing with the game? And I'm assuming those will still continue. But the great news is, at least as far as the last couple updates, and it looks like kind of the focus that they're at least starting to listen. And I'm not even going to say that like they weren't listening before, but it's clear with kind of the frequency of the updates and then having the beta client and some of the things that they address that are directly have been found, for people in the community that they're working. They're working more. They're working with us more, and they're being. I don't want to say that they're being more transparent, but that they're addressing things that people are talking about.
Well, I mean,
So
I feel like CS:GO is in a stage where you would expect refinements like what you mentioned with choke
exactly,
and things like that. Like those are the kinds of updates you expect out of a fairly mature game, and so that's the way that you still keep your users bought in, is when they see that
yep,
you're there's not necessarily like really low hanging fruit anymore, but that's something that makes the experience better. Getting rid of choke, like something that's that I think like CS players would recognize since the game has existed.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And so also to comment right now in the beta. So one thing that as far as I won't bore people that don't play CSGO too much, but one thing in the current meta is that pistols in the game are so powerful, right? And the reason you go, well, what's the problem with pistols being powerful? It's that on eco rounds, so rounds where you're not able to afford a rifle or even an SMG or whatever, and you're on these eco rounds, you can be a team fully equipped with AKs, head armor, the whole thing, and you can still get one shot by something that costs, $300. Mm-hmm. And it happens a lot, and it makes eco rounds in Counter-Strike like the pistols are just so powerful in the game, and it's something that people have been frustrated for a while. And in the beta currently, they are experimenting with basically removing one-shot headshots from like the cheaper pistols in the game. So whereas you can actually be killed instantly at what different ranges, it's gonna possibly go away. I don't want to say they're experimenting with it. It would be incredible. I personally, for me, if that actually went away, some of the more expensive ones, I'm sure the Deagle would still one-shot headshot and stuff like that. Some of the more like, I think, what is the Deagle, 800, 750 or 800? I don't know, but I think it's 800. So anyway, all good stuff. And so I wanna give credit where credit's due, because I know I ran about. I feel like it's not a podcast if I don't rant about Valve in some form. But I'm definitely cautiously optimistic about the last maybe month and a half of what we've seen so far. So
that sounds
good signs.
Good to see it on the positive upswing.
Yep, exactly. So that, and then I also played some Killing Floor this week, Killing Floor 2. Been enjoying that game, trying to grind out, just doing the support class, because honestly, it's probably the easiest, and I really enjoy using the shotguns in that game. The A12's amazing. But played some more Killing Floor, and that's been a good time. And that game's just beautiful. It runs amazing. It looks amazing. Definitely more variety as far as bosses or something that I know that they're working on another boss right now. I think that would definitely help the game, because I do tend to hit a wall, and I think people that play with me feel this way too with Killing Floor. Maybe not. Maybe some people can just play it forever, but I feel like after like 2 or 3 hours of there's a lot of map variety, but because there isn't a ton of variety as far as the bosses, you can get the Patriarch, or you can get Hans, the scientist. Yeah. And they do different things, but you can only fight them so many times before you're kind of like, all right, we need something else. So I'm hoping more stuff kind of comes down the line as far as boss variety, but that was enjoyable. But yeah, after like 2 or 3 hours, I agree with chat. It's kind of like, hard to stick it out.
Killing Floor, I think, is a game that is so good in small doses.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I think you
it's grindy.
It is real grindy, and like in Killing Floor 1, sometimes if you would just join a random server and you'd see people that had like high level in like more than one class, I was just like, how do you even do it? How do you play this game that much? Because it just really it does get so grindy, and I think some of the magic of that game is not understanding all of the mechanics really like down to a T. And once you understand like all the mechanics, Killing Floor 2 is a little more complex, but like Killing Floor 1, there are like some pretty basic things that if you understood it, like you could win pretty consistently every single time. But that sort of takes the magic out of it. Of like you lose the magic of playing with your friends and actually having trouble, and like you lose that feeling of getting overrun.
Right.
But Killing Floor 2, I think they will add more bosses. Like that seems like a pretty natural way.
Yeah, from what I understand, I don't know if it's I could be. I I feel like who I was playing with said that they know that they are in fact working on another boss.
Yeah.
But I think I'm sure I know it's a small dev team. Like I know it's not very many people working on the game. So I'm sure that takes a lot of time and testing. But yeah, that would definitely be something where I don't know. That would definitely add to maybe it feeling less grindy. I mean, in Killing Floor 2 is less grindy as far as like how long it takes to level up, I feel like, overall. And I don't think it's quite as hardcore as the first game. There are certain things that are, I mean, I think overall, personally for me, it's a better game. I played a decent amount of Killing Floor 1.
Oh, I
think I like Killing Floor.
It's a way better game. Like I think it's better in pretty much every aspect. But like for how long,
but you have some purists who kind of like, because it was more raw in the first. You know what I mean? There's like people that are like, yeah, well, they didn't hold your hand as much. I just like, okay, yeah, but they also refined the fuck out of the experience.
Right.
Really,
it's basically Killing Floor 1 with a ton of refinements and new classes and stuff. But
it's beautiful too.
It's really like a superset of a game on top of Killing Floor 1. Like it's just all around a better product. And the one thing that I think that game in particular, like that dev team has shown, is that even if you only play a couple hours every now and then, that's a game that you can be confident will continue getting updates for years and years.
Exactly.
Like you might hit if you grind it out, that grinding is going to pay off because people are going to be playing Killing Floor 2 for a really long time. So it's not like Call of Duty where like I don't know why people even bother prestiging in Call of Duty, right? Like what do you actually get out of that? Because you're going to replace that game in a year. Whereas with Killing Floor 2, if you level up a lot of the classes and stuff, you're going to get a few years at least out of that progress. Sure. And I think that's something that I really like. I don't want to have to waste my time doing the same thing over and over. And so that's why I like Killing Floor is like I did a bunch of grinding at the very beginning of the game. And I know that just doing that grinding up front will make me happier like 2 years, 3 years down the line.
And the experience, exactly, down the road, it's going to be good for it. No, I totally agree. I mean, I could not agree more. I feel like Killing Floor, I mean, I know it already has a pretty solid, I mean, there's always people playing. I know it has a pretty big fan base. But I know for a fact, even people in my chat that don't have the game, they're like, hey, that looks fun. Like, I think one of the huge selling points is exactly what you're saying. It's like, if you're going to grind something, like, don't fucking grind Call of Duty for a fucking icon next to your name. That really is not, like, none of it's going to affect the actual gameplay. Whereas, like, in Killing Floor, it does directly affect the gameplay.
Yeah.
And you can play on harder difficulties, obviously, the more you grind up. It's like, okay, well, now, I've got all these perks now. It's like, all right, let's go to Hell on Earth
mode. The game is like
so
completely different when you're starting out versus like in the advanced tiers of one of the classes. I mean, I think they do a pretty good job of making those harder difficulties really pretty inaccessible until you get some of those key perks. And so you're playing a pretty different game once you get to those higher levels, which is pretty cool. I mean, not that there's ever going to be like a pro scene in Killing Floor because it's only a co-op game. But you look at people that really take it seriously, and there are people that want to take on like the hardest level difficulty, and that's basically not an option until you have probably the like at least second highest tier perks.
Yeah.
Before that, it's not even worth trying.
Yep, exactly. I'm sorry. Chad is pointing out that I did make a little bit of a misstatement saying that it's only an icon next to your name. Of course, the gold camos. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
The colored name tags. The more creative classes. Don't want to do too much of a disservice.
Yeah, make sure to catch those corrections. We don't want to get angry tweets and emails after the fact.
I know we have a lot of diehard COD fanboys here. I wouldn't want to offend them, but yeah. All right. Yeah. So that's basically what I played. I didn't really. I'm really looking forward to, as far as stuff I'm looking forward to. I'm really excited for Mafia 3. I think that's going to be a really good game, and that comes out. I think I want to say October 7th. So we're getting there after Twitch. Yep, after TwitchCon, it's gonna be right around the corner. So I'm excited for that. Yeah. I think that's going to do it as far as what we've been doing this week and what we've been playing. Shall we jump into the news? Was there anything you wanted to add? No, I have to ask. No flea markets. I know you would bring it up. But
no flea markets this week. Nothing too exotic.
Okay.
Fair enough. I mean, like I said, I basically did the best I could not to go outside this weekend.
Yep. Exactly.
I wasn't willing to go to a Cheesecake Factory.
That's true. You wouldn't even.
Let alone a flea market.
That was a dumb question in retrospect. After what you told me you did this weekend. So. All right, let's get in our first news story, and this one is a doozy. This one is a doozy.
There's a reason it's the first one.
Exactly. So, in Australia, a man has patented the ham dog, which is, you heard it right, the ham dog, which is a hot dog and burger combo. And this is not a joke. And you may say, well, why on a gaming podcast? Maybe if you're a newer listener, are you starting with a story about a hot dog and burger combo? And the answer to that would be, we have a very storied history with food on this podcast, and especially the hot dog. And more specifically, is the hot dog a sandwich? And we have spent, I don't know, probably multiple episodes of time over the years, if you add it all up, talking about this issue.
I
Brandon.
think we definitely have over the course of our of
some
of the
251
podcasts.
episodes.
We have, I would say, probably the most depth in terms of this discussion. Like, I have seen this discussion pop up in other places on the internet and in news articles and things. I think we probably have the most comprehensive, debates about whether the hot dog is a sandwich. So this is definitely important. But I think even past that, I would say that, like, we're featuring this article because we are people that appreciate innovation.
Absolutely.
And if you look at this picture, I'm guessing, I'm going to go out on a limb and say if you Google ham dog, you could just find this picture.
I'm gonna link them to the actual article here for people that are actually live in chat. But yes, if you're an audio listener, just literally Google that. You will find it. You will absolutely.
I'm trying to think of how you describe the actual thing that's been invented. It's basically like kind of an extended bun. And so there's like a hamburger bun, which is circular, but then instead it extends out, almost like you're looking at the front of like a propeller plane.
Yes, that's a good way to describe it.
So it's like a hamburger bun with wings.
Yes, exactly. I mean, a hamburger bun in the middle, it kind of holds that shape, but then on the left and the right, you've got, like you said, you've got the start of a hot dog bun, I guess the end of one. And so the way that, so this is created by Mark Murray, and he actually appeared on Shark Tank to try to get funding for this, and they kind of laughed him out of, apparently they weren't in on it. They didn't really believe in the product. And I mean, I don't know if I can say that I don't know if I would look at this and say, hey, this is going to be, the next big thing. But he's finding a lot of success. Selling it basically at a fair, and there's actually a video in the article that this is a BBC article that we're referencing here. If you look up that, you can find a video of them preparing the ham dog. And I'm not gonna lie, okay, like I've seen burger combos. I think Carl's Jr. did a burger that was like had a hot dog like split on top of it. Like, this isn't unheard of. I'm sure other places do that. But definitely the bun shape is newer. And the way that they actually prepare it is, according to this, is that the burger is split in half, obviously. So because you got to allow the hot dog to be placed in between. Right. So they split the burger in half. The hot dog then sits in between it. And then the bun is, you fill it with lettuce, tomato, pickles, cheese, mustard. And then this was interesting, though, and maybe this is an Australian thing, tomato sauce, which I thought a little bit not something that we in the U.S.
Is that maybe just like, is that just ketchup?
That must be ketchup, right?
It's got to just be like a name for ketchup, or like whatever the local ketchup type thing is.
Fair enough. Because when I think of tomato, I think we think of pasta.
It's got to be ketchup.
Okay, so we're gonna say ketchup, and then obviously mayo. And then when I saw the mayo, that brought me to this question: do you do mayo on your burgers?
100%, absolutely. I'll take mayo on a burger over ketchup if I had to choose.
I totally agree. I'm in the same boat. I know that'll probably make a lot of people who listen to this cast upset, because I think mayo is a very divisive topic.
Mayo on a burger is like that is required.
I agree.
I think any burger that by default comes with mustard instead of mayo, like it's a non-starter for me.
Gotcha. Exactly. Okay, good. I'm glad that we're on the same page. That would have gotten little awkward with the Intimate Cast if you were against mayo, because I'm a huge proponent.
No, me and mayo get along well on burgers, especially though. Like the burgers, I think there are a lot of interesting like special sauces that are mayonnaise based that like burger places will do. And so I love all of that.
Exactly.
I was actually wondering before I read the article, when you just look at the picture, I was
Yeah.
thinking, how do you make it not pop up in the middle because you have the hot dog and the burger patty,
Yep.
but I guess you cut it in half. And so I feel like it probably is pretty labor intensive to make one of these because
Yeah.
you have
They
to have a patty thick enough to make sure that it doesn't like sag in the middle and all that. It seems like it's
exactly.
probably a pretty in-depth process.
No, it does. Yeah, he was saying that because they're all constructed and made. They haven't really automated the process yet or found a easier way to do it. But I mean, I would definitely. I mean, if I was at a fair, I would absolutely try this. Right? I
Oh,
mean, what do you?
100%.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
it looks. I mean, it looks really good. It looks like something that that I would absolutely try as a novelty. But also, I like hot dogs and burgers, and
Yeah,
so and also this actually looks pretty easy to eat in terms of like holding it. It would be pretty easy to eat it as a
yeah,
burger, or like whether you want to eat the hot dog side first or the burger
right.
side first. It's like it's a food that would work well in your hands. So I think he's onto something. I think the only risk he has
Yeah,
is that I bet it's hard to patent the design of a bun.
I
And
love
so,
the patent image that they put on. It's hilarious. I don't. Oh man, yeah. I wish again. This is audio, so you can't see it, but the patent image is pretty hilarious. Yeah, I think it's a good idea, and I think it could totally. I don't know. Like, there's been I mean, there's worse. There's been crazier and more bizarre food trends than this that have taken off. So,
oh yeah, I don't even
if
think this is really like that crazy. It's just
no,
it's
it's
like
not. It's
it's like a pretty smart way to combine the two things. And like you said, there have been this is not like a completely novel idea because other burger places have done like where they'll split the hot dog in half and like put it on top of the
exactly.
burger and stuff. So like this, people have done sort of like hot dog mixed burgers, but this is like actually sort of combining the two. It's not like you're not favoring one over the other. It is legitimately both items combined in basically the best way possible.
Absolutely. So the question remains, Brandon. Now that is the ham dog a sandwich?
I think that I mean that's tough. I think
I
yeah. I mean,
know.
I think
I know.
yes. I think
I think
actually,
it.
I think yes. Even more
Mhm.
so than like a hot dog being a sandwich, which
Absolutely.
is debatable in large part because of the fact that the bread is connected at the bottom. Where
Exactly.
here,
This is a
I'm
clear
to be
distinction.
and to clarify, I mean it's possible that the other side of this picture is connected bread, but that would be wild, and I'm
Yeah.
guessing it's not. So
No,
because
it's
this is
not.
like
It's
this
not.
is two distinct pieces of bun, and so I think I think this would definitely be considered a type of sandwich.
Absolutely. No, I agree. I think it's definitely a sandwich. There is clear separation.
Hmm.
If you watch the video, the way that they're preparing it, yeah.
Okay,
So,
okay, yeah, I haven't watched the video.
yep.
I've just seen the picture.
Yeah. So, approved sandwich. Go get your ham dog if you're in
Yeah, he needs to bring it to America.
yeah, exactly. Western Australia. So, I'm down. You know what? I think what's gonna happen is, once news of this spreads, right, you're gonna have a lot of imitators or copycats making the non-official ham dog.
Oh yeah.
Maybe he owns the right to ham dog, but I
Oh,
can see the
this guy
knockoffs
better
already.
lawyer up. People are going to take this idea immediately.
Exactly, and then pretty soon, in about a month, Brandon, you're going to see a shop open up in America, and it's going to say the original ham dog. And
Oh, I
somebody's going
know.
to steal it.
I know.
Like, it
And I'm
started
gonna
here.
I'm gonna know they're stealing it, but like selfishly, I want that to happen still. Like I want
Yeah,
someone to
I know.
take that risk to bring the ham dog to the masses in America.
Absolutely. Bring it over. I want to try a ham dog. So, all right, great start though. Great start to the new section. The second story gets away a little bit from food, but actually not all that much because Brandon, everybody wants a piece of the pie, don't they? When it comes to when it comes,
Everybody wants that cheddar.
everybody wants that cheddar, which coincidentally could probably be delicious on a ham dog as
That's
well. But
true.
we're talking about Riot and League of Legends, and there's been a lot. I don't even follow League as far as competitively very closely anymore, but I mean I
feel like
follow
this
it
sort of this
casually.
news kind of made waves even outside
Yes.
of like the hardcore League of Legends scene
Did.
because it's been kind of a pretty overarching topic I think in esports about the different ways that games are managed. And so
Exactly.
we've talked about Valve and their kind of stance on how they manage their games like Dota and Counter-Strike, and that contrasts very heavily with the way that that League and Riot that Riot runs their esports scene, and so they've taken some steps this week to make some changes to that, and I think these changes I think will have a pretty big impact. Like this was just the announcement of some things that are going to happen, but I think this will fundamentally change a lot of the way that like their structure operates.
Yeah, so the big thing, I mean, I know as far as like over the last month or maybe month and a half or so, I know Reggie who runs the TSM organization, and there's been a lot of other team owners who basically just expressed like Riot makes it very difficult, according to them, to not only be like a profitable organization in the esport, but they also like as far as like the revenue streams and ability to have sponsors and stuff, all that stuff has been super locked down by Riot. And they basically, I know there was an open letter sent to Riot, signed by a bunch of like team owners and stuff like that. And there was basically a situation where it's like they were basically saying that Riot needs to absolutely act, and they have come back with some pretty. I think a lot of the stuff that's here is pretty strong. Now, a lot of the stuff isn't going to be enacted right away. I think up to 2018, there's going to be changes in 2017 for sure with a lot of the stuff, but I think it's like a 2 or 3 year plan. But some of the stuff, some of the points of the letter actually stuck out to me as like, I don't know, but just like holy shit, this wasn't even like. I'll give an example. Okay. So 25% of revenue received from skin sales from the winning team of Worlds will be shared with the players, team, and league. Mm-hmm. And I look at that and I go, so you're telling me that the team that actually won Worlds, I don't know what the split was before. Maybe it was, I'm assuming if there was some kind of split for the team skins, it was less than 25%.
Yeah.
But that seems like, I was just like, holy shit, like, that's pretty crazy to me that's like a big step forward, that like the team that actually wins the world championship of League of Legends is going to get 25% revenue of the skins, like that's like, it just seems like I mean it's good and it's progress and it's forward, but I guess maybe it struck a chord with me as far as like, wow, this stuff has really been locked down, like that's pretty crazy. Like that doesn't seem like very much at all.
Some of these very much feel like League catching up with other games. I mean, other games that aren't even necessarily as established. I mean, like Smite, for instance, has been like made a really big splash in their prize pools, mainly through crowdfunding. Mm-hmm. And when you look at some of this and you think like, wait a minute, they weren't already doing this? Like it does feel like they're very much trying to catch up in a hurry. Because, I think the conversation around Valve and like the international, for instance, sometimes the conversation will come up that like Valve is almost greedy because they make so much money off of it. They're only sharing, I think it's a quarter, right, of the compendium sales for the prize pool. And so they're pocketing 75% of it. And sometimes people are saying like, that's too much. But then you look at a lot of the things that League was doing, and they were sharing 0% of it. Right. So I agree. I think this seems obvious, and I think this is definitely a good step forward in helping kind of show teams that they intend for the teams to be partners and not and not just like basically disposable. Because I feel like that's sort of what it felt like for some of these teams is like if they get relegated. Yep. Then they may just not exist anymore, right? Because like they just live and die by the fact that like if you don't get into LCS, you would have to be a really established brand to even live through that until next season when you get your next chance.
Exactly. A lot of it basically the way that and people in chat are even saying it, like a lot of this stuff in this letter is just basic like common sense. Like you could even look at models, right? Like look at models of like, okay, like non-esport stuff like the NFL or whatever else. Or I'm not saying that these are necessarily, you can hold all these up and they work perfectly, but like a lot of this basic stuff, it's like, yeah, you got to have partners that have permanent stakes. Like no one's relegated. Like the Browns are fucking terrible every year, right? They're not relegated. Like they're not relegated and like, well, you may lose your spot. I mean, sure, it can happen, right? You can teams can be eventually forced if it's like the NFL can force teams to sell to other cities and stuff but at the end of the day though, like if there is actual fan base there and there's money coming into the team and they're successful, they're gonna allow it, right?
And there's still some value there. Like there's still it's not like that you're gonna take to use your example, like you're not gonna take the Cleveland Browns out of the NFL and put in
Right.
some brand new franchise in their
Exactly.
place. I mean, I guess technically that could happen, but that's
It
very
could.
unlikely. Where like so even if the Browns like were sort of getting forced to move their team or sell it or
Right.
something, they
The
still end
brand
up
still stays.
they still
Yeah.
have to like get bought out. Whereas in the League of Legends scene, there are just like new brands that will pop up, and
Yeah.
they'll like all of a sudden they exist only because they have an LCS spot. And so
Exactly.
it is a very weird like a very weird dynamic to just see brand new names popping up all the time,
Yeah.
and you don't really see that many names that are there year after year, and so I think that is like probably damaging to the long term health of that scene, because
Yeah.
if there's like a year where like TSM and Cloud9 and Team Liquid and like the names that people would recognize, that
Sure.
none of those like God forbid like none of them make it, what is your
Yep.
pro scene now? Like who is going to show up to your events and things when they don't have any stake in the teams that are playing?
Exactly. Yeah, and there's a lot. I mean, there's so in regards to the like to the relegation and stuff like that. Um, basically, that this letter is saying that it's suggesting the eventual end of promotion and relegation stuff, which I think is something that a lot of the people that run the teams have been like, we like. We want to be invested and be here for the long term and not feel like you're saying, Brandon, like, well, we had a bad season, so we're gone.
Yeah.
Like all that work, like we don't know if we're even going to exist. And then it's like, how do you, if that's always your fear, it's like, then how do you even push? Like, again, you could argue like, well, you just got to get the best player. Like it's a dog eat dog world, but
Hmm.
that doesn't really help the brand at the end of the day, because it's like, that's not going to help if you're trying to sell merch for a dead team, at least in league and all that
Right.
kind of stuff. And that's also the other thing is like a lot of all the other revenue streams have been really locked down, so they're kind of they're adding stuff like team branded in-game purchasable content with revenue shared. There's like a lot of stuff in this that I think is really good. And for people that are really into and still follow League of Legends and have seen a lot of these issues, I think it's a pretty solid start. But definitely, it leaves me kind of almost going like, I'm just surprised a lot of this stuff wasn't here. And I think a lot of the reason and a lot of the rage for how lockdown Riot is Riot was just kind of, Riot is very much in the vein of like, we're the biggest game in the world.
Hmm.
They come to us, we don't come to them. We don't negotiate. I mean, it's the same thing with this is a separate issue, but how they pay and treat their casters and how locked down of
Right.
a world League of Legends casting is. And talking about Monty and some of these other people, he had a really good video today or yesterday, kind of just talking about the way Riot approaches casting and what they expect of you and what they expect you to do and not do. And I think that kind of definitely has carried over in how they run the league. It's like what we say goes. We don't need to be accountable to anybody really. And it's good to see maybe a shift in that. Maybe they don't actually think that, but I
Right.
think regardless of if they think it, it's the PR hits enough that they're going to do something like this now, where they're
Yeah,
like,
and
we
it
have to do
doesn't. I
something.
mean, their attitude at some point doesn't necessarily matter. What matters is the sustainability of the other players in that space. And
Exactly.
so I think like it's I think some of it is going to be kind of protective of the fact that they are the largest game in the world right now. But I think what if we've learned anything from like esports over the years, it's that games can rise and fall, and you look at
Sure.
like I think you've got to if you want your game to last a really long time, you've got to be more forward thinking than like the new games coming up. And I think that's one of the cool things about esports is that it's not, I don't think it's ever really stale. There's always like new games coming out. There's always new scenes that might take off. But when you look at League of Legends as established as it is, I think you've got to have more infrastructure than is there right now. If you want to
Yep.
run it like Riot has, like the other way you can go is you can run it like like Dota and like CS:GO, right? You can be real hands off if you want, but that
Yep.
sort of suffers from the same problem. Like
Yep.
when you see brand new names at the international every year, I mean, like
Hmm.
I don't follow Dota super closely, but obviously like I follow it probably more than your average person, and like I didn't recognize a good portion of the team names at the international. Like that's a problem.
Hmm.
And so I think you've got to have more if you want to run it like Riot does, where you've got a lot of like really heavy structure, But you run everything centrally and you try and make it, closer to the NFL type model or NBA.
Mm-hmm.
I think you've got to have stuff like this in place where if you're doing well, your teams are going to be doing well, and they're not risking like dying, right? They're not risking
Exactly.
closing shop just because of like one bad season or, not being good at like doing their own sponsorship sales and things like that. Like if Riot wants to have a heavy piece of that, I think they've got to make sure that they're sharing that revenue when they're doing well.
Exactly. Like there's no like I mean there's actually been like I mean this is in response to talks of teams like we don't even know if we can pay the players right at the end of the year half the time or the monthly checks. Like and there is no excuse for a team that is in the LCS, right? That is playing for a world championship with the amount of money that Riot makes. Like regardless of what you think of the situation, whether you agree with that they keep it more locked down as they have in the past or you think that they should be more open. I mean, we all know the amount of money League of Legends is making. They make an insane amount of money. So clearly something has to shift if there are I'm not saying that there's not mismanagement. Like I understand all of that stuff, but at the core, it's like you can't have the entire group of owners being like, guys, you're killing us here. Like you guys are making so much money and we're, a lot of our orgs are struggling to even, survive.
Yeah, I mean the owners are self-interested as well.
Sure,
but
absolutely.
I think it is telling when you look at a lot of the dynamics of the League of Legends scene, and like League of Legends should be the stable one for a lot of these teams, and from an outsider's perspective, it looks like League of Legends is sort of one of the most volatile. Whereas like some of the other scenes may feel more volatile, like maybe CS:GO, right? There's not quite as much structure, but it's not like there aren't nearly as many question marks. You pick up a team, you have a relatively good understanding of like what the tournament landscape is and all of that, and it doesn't all run through a central body.
Nope.
And so I think that's the thing is if you want to have total control, I think you've got to be more willing to receive some of the or to share some of the revenue from from the skins and all of that. Like basically you want the teams promoting their in-game skins and all that, right? So like it seems like the incentives work out in everyone's favor. As we would say, Scott, it's like they can grow the pie, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. And this really is looking like Riot relinquishing some control and opening more, which again, like you said, we may have more extremes in the Valve side of it where they're even way more hands off than Riot probably will ever end up being, regardless of how many changes happen. But the system clearly needed to change, so it's interesting, and I guess we'll see how it goes and if they hold true. I'm sure, and now that they've said all this stuff, by the end of 2018, I'm thinking, the LCS and stuff is going to look a lot different in the future. So,
well, and it's the face of a maturing, a continually maturing esports scene as it pertains to their game. And I think that even though League of Legends has been around a while now, right? Yeah. I guess 7 years, something like that. Mm-hmm. But I think people are still figuring out the dynamics of like how does this all work in the longer term? How do we have like a more stable financial future for the teams, for Riot themselves? Like what does all of that look like? And I think right now, even though esports continues to get more mature, that's still very Wild West. Like there's no guarantee. A lot of people are just running with they might have some money in the bank, but like they're not necessarily running like a business, right? They may not have like proper payroll. It may be players getting paid via PayPal every 2 weeks or something. Yeah. Like who knows? And I think for the esports scene to continue becoming more professional, like these are the kind of conversations that will have to happen with the publishers, the big players in that scene.
Yep. Yeah. So we'll be interested to see how that goes in the future. Man, some league talk, man. I didn't think we'd be. I mean, again, it's all depending on what happens in the week, but it feels
that's more league talk than we've had in probably 6 months.
Yeah, exactly. All right. This next article is interesting. This happened, I think, towards the end of last week, but it's interesting for kind of the precedent it sets. Not necessarily the precedent, but maybe a reminder of how powerful and strong and basically the end all be all Valve is when it comes to digital distribution of stuff. So Steam has pulled all of Digital Homicide's games from the Steam library, and Digital Homicide is kind of infamous for creating garbage that has been well maligned by many different people on the internet. Basically, I think there's about 20 games that Digital Homicide has put out in like, I don't know, it's close to like a game a month, I think, since they've existed. And I think it's basically just one guy behind the scenes doing it. And Digital Homicide has sued 100 users in the community, the Steam community, for $18 million, directly trying to basically go after people that they felt were following them around and giving them, I don't know, just false reviews for their great product. And yeah, you heard that right. It's trying to sue 100 users for $18 million. So Jim Sterling, he has I think a bunch of videos on Digital Homicide games. And so they also sued him back in the day. This was in March. They sued him for $15 million for slander, I believe. Libel, slander, and assault. Oh, I'm sorry. Assault was on there too, which is pretty crazy.
That's a spicy one.
That's a very spicy one. I don't know how they got assault in there. But this is from the Digital Homicide landing page. So, okay, so I guess I should back up a little bit. So as far as the $18 million lawsuit, so basically James Romine? Yeah, James Romine, who's Digital Homicide's co-founder. And again, I don't know how many people work on these games. Judging from what I've seen from the gameplay and the reviews, not like it looks like a 1 or 2 man show. And he wants $18 million as compensation for personal injury. According to documents that were uploaded by a YouTuber, the anonymous users getting sued have used handles such as Toon, Vlux, Nathos, John, just some people on just the Steam review grind.
Like it's not like they're well-known names or something.
No,
they're just Steam,
normal
they're just
people,
like normal Steam users.
Normal people.
Or I mean,
we
don't know. Maybe some of these people left like really nasty reviews or something, but that's not really the point. The point is like suing 100 people. Like who does that help? Like why does
it doesn't? So he clarifies a little bit. We'll get to that, but sorry, Mike in chat is telling me that they got assault by claiming Sterling sent his viewers to go after that. Okay, so he was, yes, a call to arms. I guess he must have made in one of his videos. So okay, that's interesting. That's how they were trying to claim that. So basically, he claims that these users have repeatedly attacked him for up to 21 months and have amassed a total of 20,000 postings on Steam, YouTube, and social media portals such as Reddit. So. So basically, he is trying to get Valve to basically give him the true identity of these anonymous Steam users, so that the lawsuit can move forward. He wants to basically take the mask off of these horrible people who have been leaving less than stellar reviews on his work, and he wants to unmask them. So what Valve decided to do? Valve goes, you know what? We're just going to pull all of the Digital Homicide games off of Steam, and that's what they did. And
they had a nice quote.
The quote was pretty good.
Succinct. Yeah. Valve has stopped doing business with Digital Homicide for being hostile to Steam customers.
Exactly.
So Valve giveth and Valve taketh away.
Yep, that was it. A very short but sweet sentence. Basically, being hostile to Steam customers, you're done. So Valve pulls out, or they pulled out of Digital Homicide, and Digital Homicide wants Valve to be put back into them. And I don't think that's going to happen. So Romine basically said, and I'm going to read his quote because this is interesting. From his perspective, by removing us, they have taken the stance that users have the right to harass me, tell me I should kill myself, and insult my family. I'm not even going to address that yet. If I try to defend myself against said actions, then I lose my family's income. If it wasn't for 2 years of experience of dealing with Steam on a regular basis, this disgusting stance would seem shocking to me. The only thing that prevented me from seeking legal counsel for the long list and breach of contracts, I guess in reference to Valve, interference with business, antitrust issues, blah, 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 has been his fear of losing his family's income. And so he says, since everything's been taken away, now he's seeking legal representation. Now that he's been pulled off of Steam. So, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, again, I guess the issue that I have with this is twofold. The first issue that I have is he's a perfect example. The games, by all accounts, that Romine has made are horrible, garbage cash grabs with zero effort.
Can we? I absolutely want you to finish your point, but I can't get over the fact that we are sitting here talking about someone whose company's name is Digital Homicide.
It's a great point.
But he wants to claim
silence people.
that he's like offended to the point that he needs to file a lawsuit over the fact that people are telling him he should kill himself on the internet. Now, I'm not going to defend someone, spewing garbage on the internet. Like, I think that's awful, right? I don't think that's right, but I also don't think that you have like much of a leg to stand on when your games, your studio's name is Digital Homicide. Your games, like, I'm judging based on some of the names of these games. There's probably like some violence and stuff. Like,
there is.
I can't comprehend the state of mind you have to be in to be like.
I mean, he has a game called The Slaughtering Grounds, by the way, just in case. It's to help further your point. If you need
I'm sure that one's probably rated E.
Any more info, but
I'm sorry. Yeah. Please continue. I just had to. That was really bugging me.
Can I just also some of his other titles? Winged Knight's Penetration. It's incredible.
Yeah, I've heard of that one.
Anyway, but so I guess the issue. And Valve can absolutely do anything that they want, and I think Digital Homicide's a perfect example of somebody that makes absolute garbage, crying about the fact that he makes absolute garbage. Like there's just so much entitlement in every way this guy acts that it's whatever. Like, good riddance, get him off of Steam. The guy's clearly like he's got his own mental issues to deal with. You know what I mean? Like, there's stuff going beyond the fact that he makes garbage. He's just trying to make a quick buck regardless.
And I think there's probably the unfortunate part here is like there's probably some validity to what he's talking about. Is like it's not okay to write like harassing things online and make someone feel like that they've got to do this, right? Like that a developer is being harassed to the point that he feels like he's got to file a lawsuit. But like you've got to like weigh the situation and understand that that's probably something you're going to have to deal with. Not that it's right, but it's like something you're going to encounter when you're creating a product, that lives online. Like that it's the way things
part
are.
Part of the ecosystem.
And so like there's probably a way that he could have approached this that is like, look, Valve needs to take a harder line stance on, harassment, right, on their platform. Like why is someone allowed to say like, you should kill yourself in a Steam review or something like that? That's a potentially valid point.
Sure.
But then like going this route, I think loses, it's like it loses you any advocates you might have had because you're like suing people. And like Valve, like why would Valve continue doing business with you? Why I'm glad that like they can basically say, look, you're gonna make everyone's life difficult. Like you're gonna file a lawsuit about this stuff instead of have a conversation. Then we're done with you. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about this before the cast, Scott. But like, what is his end game here? Because now that Valve has removed his games, like Valve at this point, they've got a lock on the market his games are being sold in.
Exactly.
So like, what do you do? If he was concerned about his family's income, like losing his family's income, well, that ship has sailed.
Yeah.
So like, how do you end up better off than he started?
Yeah, he doesn't at all. And this is where we get into the absolute just like crybaby kind of just like this guy's just clearly not dealing in reality, or he's just so arrogant that he thinks that he's going to have any chance, or he thinks that really like he has a point. And you're absolutely right. If he had been more tempered, if he had been like, listen, like I just want to raise a greater point, like, okay, you cannot like my product, but you can't tell me to kill myself or, whatever. Like that's, I think people probably would have been like, okay. Like
there's
we
a
could at least
tactful
listen to
way to
this.
bring like
There's
to
a
bring up a
tactful way,
concern
but
like
this
that.
guy, yeah, doesn't really have clearly doesn't have any tact. And but okay, so the second part is what we were talking about in the pre-show, where it's just like, but on the side of like, okay, so this is an example of a guy, and I think most people say this is warranted. Get off the platform, like we don't care. But like, how about in a situation where we're talking about, like you said, Valve controls the market here, and whenever you have this much power, and I wouldn't be shocked at all, and I know from people that have dealt with Valve in the past when it comes to publishing and trying to get their games and stuff like that. Like it's a hot mess. It's pretty crazy as far as like when it comes to the Steam sale and being told like, hey, yeah, your game will be on the front page. Like I've talked to a lot of developers and stuff, or people and just friends who have been like, yeah, it can be an absolute shit show just because of how it's just not very well organized and stuff. So I'm sure that he had actually legitimate grievances with Valve, and it kind of raises a bigger question, right? Like, so what if he was somebody that actually, but what if he's somebody that made a good product that was making a good point, but then Valve, it's not the situation in this case, but Valve was just like, well, yep. It's just that I guess it's a reminder that Valve has the ability to do this, right? Like they have almost absolute power to kind of just be like, totally get rid of somebody's income, totally erase somebody's game library on Steam. And obviously they have the power to do that, but with power comes the opportunity for abuse. And this is not a case of that, I don't think, by any means. But
yeah, and I think like
the ecosystem's different than it used to be when when Steam first started out. Like, obviously, people started out, people were like, oh, we don't want to. I will never get rid of my hard copies of games. And now it's kind of evolved to the point where it's just like, if it's not on Steam, I'm not even going to get it, right? And so it's a lot different now.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Also, sorry to audio listeners. I think I had a pop up or something that interrupted the audio. But no, I think that's a valid point that you bring up. Like the fact that Valve controls, a lot of people's livelihoods. People going wild in the chat. I apologize.
Was an ad for something? Okay, gotcha.
It's man, the internet is a wild place. It's rough doing a live show. No, I think like there is an alternate way that, like, let's say that someone, regardless of the quality of their game, let's say that they're getting harassed by right. Let's say like 1, 2, 3 people, like a small dedicated harassment, which is illegal, right? Like if they were to file a lawsuit against a handful of people, right, way more targeted than this, yep. Right? Filing a lawsuit against 100 people, it's like, come on, really? Yep. But filing a lawsuit against a small number of people, and they needed to get discovery from Valve to find their actual identity. Would Valve still do the same thing? Like, just because you're making our lives difficult, so we're going to remove your product from Steam, even if they have a valid point, a valid case.
Sure.
And I don't know the answer to that. Like, because I'm sure they probably have plausible deniability to pull products off of their store for pretty much any reason they want. And so I think that's a valid concern, is like, even if you're not breaking any of the rules, it reminds you that Valve can take any action they want. And if there's something you're doing that is inconvenient to them, they might, like, they always have that power. So that is kind of a scary reminder. And I think you're right that, like, Valve has to wield that power responsibly. But also, like, they have the power to just, like, take away your livelihood overnight. Yep,
exactly. So sorry for all you guys that are huge fans of Digital Homicide, but you're going to have to get your fix not on Steam anymore. So I wonder what happens if it gets pulled. If it was in your library still, I guess you still have. Like, how does that work when they pull a title? Like,
I believe, assuming it works the way that other games have,
right? It's just in your library forever.
It's pulled from being on sale.
The store, sure.
But if you have it in your library, you still have access to it.
It'd be so BM if they actually pull it from your library too, and then just issue a refund for everybody that bought it.
I think that gets a little dicier.
No, that would get dicey. I know. I don't think they would do that. But all right, Brad, I'm gonna let you start off with this next one, because I don't know I'm wondering how you're emotionally feeling about this next story.
Yeah, well, so we've got 2 little pieces of Blizzard news here, but this first one is kind of it's like a nostalgic piece of news, because nothing. It's like not actually important in the grand scheme of things, but it's like, it feels important because it's like a significant change that's not actually significant. But BattleNet, which is the online service that Blizzard has run since they started an online game, debuted in 1996, so 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So BattleNet, has been what people associated with Blizzard for a long time. Like Blizzard Online, everyone knows BattleNet. Like those two brands are everyone knows what BattleNet is. But basically, Blizzard put out a little quick announcement that basically said they're getting rid of the BattleNet name, because they created BattleNet in a time where you had to, like, online gaming and an online game service was kind of a novel thing. So they wanted to be more clear about what it was. But now that that's kind of like the status quo, people are very familiar with online services. They're just rolling BattleNet into like the overall Blizzard brand. I don't even know if it's actually gonna have a name. Like the name is like Blizzard Tech, but basically like the client and whatnot, I'm guessing is just gonna be called like Blizzard, like the Blizzard client or Blizzard services, something like that. So they're basically just combining. They're phasing out the BattleNet branding, and it's like, I guess it doesn't really matter, right? Nothing really changes, aside from maybe a logo or a URL, a domain name is different. But I think it's like a change. It feels like a significant change because BattleNet reminds you, like, if you were around in the early days of gaming, like BattleNet is that constant in your life that reminds you of like the old school Diablo and old school StarCraft, and those early days of matchmaking. But that's kind of going away. So now it's all just going to be Blizzard, no more BattleNet.
Yeah.
And, it's kind of sad to see a brand name like that go. But I can kind of see their point that BattleNet is kind of redundant with, basically Blizzard's online services. Like they're just keeping another name around that maybe does confuse new customers. Like I don't know. I've been a gamer for so long that it's hard for me to be in the shoes of someone who doesn't know what BattleNet is or what Blizzard is.
Yeah, same. Yeah,
so,
same.
I kind of get it, but BattleNet's been around for so long that I'm surprised that they didn't want to keep it around, because it is, frankly, like BattleNet is a well-established name unto itself. Like, people know what BattleNet is. So it's, but I guess they want to roll that all in and just bring it under the Blizzard banner. So it's kind of a sad day.
Going away.
But speaking of nostalgia, and this is kind of, we don't normally hit on like rumors and stuff because there's so many of those floating around that it's normally not worth talking about. But this one kind of piqued my interest just because it's like, it feels like one of those rumors that's like getting denied, but like could still be real. So a website popped up this past week called Diablo2HD.com, and obviously, like as the internet does, they see a domain name that looks official and something that doesn't look like it was thrown together in MS Paint, and they're like, "Whoa, is this what's this announcement? Is this real?" And so Blizzard has come out and said that it's not real. But I think it's funny. It's funny because like everyone I think is wondering what the big announcements are going to be at BlizzCon, which is only a little over a month away, and there's been like some talk of like a Diablo 2 HD version, like a remastered Diablo 2, and so I think that sort of played into people wanting to believe this was real. So we'll have to see at BlizzCon, but it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of interesting that Blizzard actually had to come out and say it was fake.
Yeah, actually,
and I wonder, like, it's one of those things where you wonder if obviously they would say it's fake, even if it's real. Like, obviously they'd say it's fake, or it actually is fake, and like they're actually really having to deal with like a pretty big crisis of like something that looks official, and then whatever they might, if they're announcing something around Diablo, like does this mess up their plans and stuff? But I think a Diablo 2, HD version would be pretty cool. I'd never actually played much Diablo 2, so I would potentially be willing to play a game like that, like get to kind of experience that old school Diablo feel, but with new textures and stuff.
Remastered, yeah.
Because I don't really have any desire to play old ass Diablo 2, but I would definitely play the old mechanics with a new, a new coat of paint. Like I think a lot of people be into that. So I don't know. Did you play Diablo 2 much, Scott?
I didn't play it. No, I didn't play it all that much. No, not near as hardcore as like I played it a little bit. I played it casually, but I never played it like no. It was not. It was never a level like you played Diablo 2. No.
Yeah.
But I would be down. I would be absolutely down to play a remaster as well. Like it's one of those things that I mean I feel like it's going. I don't want to say like it's 100%, but it seems like an easy, not necessarily even just cash grab, but people want it, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just seems like such an easy thing for them to do.
Yeah, something like that actually doesn't. It doesn't feel like much of a cash grab to me, just because I think Blizzard has a pretty good track record of not doing cash grabby stuff like that. Like if they were going to do a Diablo 2 HD, you would have to imagine they'd actually put a lot of time into it. So I think that's where like Blizzard's reputation comes into play, and I would say I would trust them to do a remaster way more faithfully than I'd trust other companies to.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But yeah, nothing much there. It does, the Diablo team has hinted that there will be some sort of announcement at BlizzCon, so who knows what that is. Blizzard is saying this is fake. But maybe, it's possible that like the truth lies somewhere between this website and reality.
Right. Just because the website's fake and could have nothing to do with Blizzard also doesn't,
it could also just be a really good guess at something they are kind of doing, but it's not actually their site. So like we won't really know until BlizzCon, but it is exciting. It's exciting to think about those types of things, and we will have our answer in like 6 weeks or so.
Yep.
So we have a few quick hits here. Actually, this first one I really only put here because I'm reminded of Orcs Must Die. So Orcs Must Die is like I think one of the coolest games that a lot of people don't know about or have never played, but is actually one of my favorite. It's just like one of my favorite games to play with someone else.
Yeah.
It's like a co-op series, and they have a new game called Orcs Must Die Unchained that it's like not out yet, but I think it's an open beta. I've played it at a convention or two, and it was pretty cool. But they were focusing on this PvP mode, and my thought was like, okay, I guess I'll see how that pans out. But that's not, it's not really what anyone knows Orcs Must Die for. But it sounds like this past week they decided to axe their PvP mode, which is a pretty big change because that sort of seemed like the direction they were trending the game in, was to be more of a PvP style game, and they just straight up are getting rid of it. Pretty much because people don't play it, according to them. A very small percentage of their players have been playing that mode, and it's kind of one of those things where you have to decide, do you want to support a game mode? And we've talked about this in varying ways before, where like when you have, let's take, we've talked about Call of Duty already, like you have a game like Call of Duty where you have multiple game modes, and after a few months some of those game modes are just dead. And that's a really bad experience, like especially if you're the person that likes that game mode, like you feel that much worse because now you don't have anyone to play with. And so it sounds like they kind of came to this point in the road where they had to decide, do we want to keep pouring development resources into this mode that people aren't playing? And they made the tough call to, I guess, kind of stick to the roots of Orcs Must Die and just focus on that co-op experience instead of PvP. So
yeah, that's got to be rough
that was
for like, yeah. It is interesting, and it's rough because I mean you can imagine like they use the word tremendous effort to talk about how many times they've tweaked this thing and tried to get it to work out, and it's also kudos to not like grind, like just spinning their wheels for even longer, because you're saying that they're reaching a turning point where they're like we've got to decide where to go. And so it was interesting too. They said that basically people who played the Siege Match PvP stuff were basically less likely to continue playing the game at all after their match. Like they would play one match and then they would stop, which is not.
Sounds like they used the data that they were getting to basically say like not only are not that many people playing, but it's like people are leaving the game in higher numbers than they are with our co-op experience. So yeah, I mean, a part of me definitely respects the decision to hone in on what people seem to come to that game for, and honestly, like I think that may be the right call. Like that's why I love Orcs Must Die. I don't need it to be a great PvP game. I need it to be a great co-op game because that's what I want out of Orcs Must Die. So yeah, here's hoping that it seems like this is an open beta where they're actually still learning things. Like How
Yeah.
often, Scott, do you see an open beta in this day and age that
Right.
acts as a game mode?
Yeah. I know. No, I know. I know. Ugh.
So, yeah, I guess props to them for making what had to be a pretty tough decision.
Yeah. There it
Um,
is.
let's see. You want to take this one, Scott?
Yeah, I'll take this one.
Some
I added
Soma
this
news.
one. Yeah, so I talked about Soma as being honestly one of my favorite experiences, or if not my favorite experience last year. And we actually, this is kind of coming full circle, because when I had talked about I had played Soma, I think it was maybe a week or two after that, they were looking at the sales, frictional games, and they were really kind of disappointed, and they kind of had an open letter about the fact that the game wasn't selling as well as they hoped it would. The game, Soma ended up costing 10 times more to develop than Amnesia cost them. It was a huge risk. It was a different tone, and I think at the time they had maybe sold I think it was like 197,000 copies or something like that, and they just had expected the pace to be way faster. Well, so fast forward to much more recently, the 23rd of September, actually. So what was that? That was Friday. It turns out that Soma has now sold over 450,000 copies, and they've made their money back and then some now, finally. And I kind of this is really what I was hoping would happen. And the reason for this is because of the Humble bundle, Humble monthly bundles. And then they had a bunch of sales also in the PlayStation Store, so more people were kind of, it was getting in front of people, and it was a price point that I guess more people wanted to get the game at. I think it was, I want to say it was only, I think it was a $30 game originally. I'm not 100%. Maybe it was 30 or $40. Either way, I know it wasn't a $60 full release game. I'm pretty sure. And anyway, I thought it was incredible. Soma is an incredible experience. So if you haven't played it yet, absolutely play it. And I don't know, just kind of good news, I guess, because it's a game that kind of deserved more, I feel like, acclaim and notoriety than it got. So
Cool.
yeah,
It's
so
cool to see
$30.
that. It's cool to see that something like the Humble Bundle and sales on the PlayStation Store, things where you think there's still, I think even today, that argument that I don't want to devalue my IP by putting it in a bundle, or where people can buy it for $5 or $10 with a bunch of other games. But it's cool to see this, which is a positive spin on that, which is there is a surge in sales that can actually push you over the line in terms of not meeting your goals versus being profitable.
Right.
And
Exactly.
and even when people are buying it in a smaller amounts, the fact that you're making more revenue than you would have made before may end up being the most important thing. So it's nice to see that they followed up on this story, because I remember we had talked about this when they that a really good game still hadn't like met its goals.
Right.
And we had talked about like how that's, I mean, it's a challenge. Like there's a ton of games out there, and even a good game like is no sure bet. But it's nice to see that, you know, even a game like that doesn't necessarily seem to be on a trajectory that's going to be successful. Like I think even games you never know when game's going to have new life breathed into it. And like the Humble Bundle, Steam sale, PlayStation sale, stuff like that, I think helps keep those games relevant. And like you said, I haven't played Soma. Like if I saw Soma in a Humble Bundle or something, I'd almost certainly pick it up because I've heard good things about it. But like I just missed it when it was brand new, and you know, I'll happily pick it up for a heavy discount. But but I'm not necessarily going to buy it like just on its own for $30.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, totally. No, I get that. And it's kind of like a weird price point. It's not like if the only pedigree kind of that you knew is that they did Amnesia, right? You're kind of like, and a lot of it was the expectations with that game. The game is very different than Amnesia. It still has elements of that, but it's much less about that. And not that Amnesia didn't have a narrative and stuff like that, but this one is just, I don't know. To describe it more would almost be like kind of a BioShock and kind of those kind of games feel than anything that Amnesia did. So it's a fantastic story and definitely worth playing. So awesome news for Frictional Games. Really happy to hear it. And then this final quick hit, Brandon, that we have, we had to talk we had to talk about it because we've talked quite a bit about No Man's Sky. Everybody on the internet has talked about No Man's Sky since it's come out, and this latest this latest topic when it comes to No Man's Sky is that no more than about 1,000 people concurrently on Steam, and this was on the 22nd that this was actually reported on. No more than 1,000 people on Steam at any given time are playing No Man's Sky anymore, which is, I mean, I don't think that's what anybody envisioned when we heard all of the the exciting things that we were going to be able to do and all the planets we were going to be able to visit from Sean Murray and Hello Games. So a pretty crazy decline. We talked about the player decline in the past, and a lot of people had said, well, I mean, every game has a decline after it first comes out. I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But we're talking about a game that went from 212,000 212,000 people at one time playing the game near release to less than 1,000. And to put that into perspective, to compare that to other games on Steam, I mean, that have less than 1,000 players, the non-English language Nabunga's Ambition Sozu Sengu Risiden has more players than No Man's Sky on Steam, which again is just an example of a game that doesn't have a very big player base. So it's crazy. I mean, you know what? I have to say, I have to thank Hello Games and No Man's Sky, because there's nothing better as just somebody that doesn't have any investment in, because I was never invested, and we talked about No Man's Sky a lot, and we're just like, there's just no way. There's no way this game lives up to the hype. Even if it's really good, it wouldn't live up to the hype. And we had the privilege of watching this ship crash and burn, because it was not only, it wasn't a horrible product, but it was nowhere near anything that people expected, and it was a lot less
gaming the way that we were being told it would.
So, like, it's one of those. It's one of those things that. I on the outside, I probably relish a little bit too much, but we all love a beautiful train wreck. And I mean, No Man's Sky, as far as recent memory, I can't think of anything that has crashed and burned harder. I mean, literally, Sean Murray has been silent on his Twitter since the game's release, really, back in months ago. From what I understand, I don't think he's gone silent. I mean, and to be honest, I don't blame the man.
That's probably the right move.
We basically gave him that advice. We said, you got to stop talking, because he was digging himself a deeper grave. So he finally stopped talking, but I
mean, I think every game is going to have this decline happen. Like that's the way these release cycles work, right? Like you probably peak at something that might be 10, 20, 50 times your normal everyday concurrency going forward. Right. But I think the crazy part of the story here is just that No Man's Sky peaking at over 200,000 concurrent players on Steam is just like unheard of for what is effectively a single player game. Like single player games just don't ever hit peaks like that. That's like the tier where CS:GO and Dota live, right? Like even TF2 doesn't normally see numbers like that, and that game's free, and has a long storied history. So the fact that that they started over 212,000, and now that you just look at that drop off, and that drop off is so precipitous.
Such a fucking cliff, dude, just straight down. That's a god. You know what I was just gonna say? Looking at the graph, that is a sick roller coaster, dude. Somebody should model a roller coaster exactly after the player base of No Man's Sky and these dates, man, because it's incredible. It's just. I mean, that is some
you look
serious.
At this, and I think when you think about like you said, the games that have 1,000 players on Steam, it's some of the games in there are pretty obscure. Like you would be surprised at the number of games that have 1,000 people playing them at any given time, because across Steam's entire user base, 1,000 people is not necessarily that much. And so, man, just the fact that there are some really obscure games that beat the concurrency of No Man's Sky, it's like I don't really think there's any way to turn around from that. Even DLC, what's the best you can hope for? Getting back up to 10K, 20K, something like that. I just, it makes me think that they will, looking at this, as much as I don't think No Man's Sky was intended to be a cash grab or anything. But when you look at the concurrent numbers on this, pretty much what I would be seeing if I'm at Hello Games is we're starting on our new game, because
Oh,
like there's no turning
I
around from this.
no. They have to walk away. I mean, they really do. They have to walk away from this train wreck, which is crazy
I mean,
to think about.
like
But
the
I
nice thing is they've financed like their next 5 games,
sure,
so
sure.
that's good. But I think they have the problem with them is going to be that they have such a radical expectation set on them for their next game. Because
I
like
wouldn't be
who
surprised if he's Sean Murray, we never hear from Sean Murray again. I'm not even kidding. I mean, that's maybe a little bit strong, but I mean, I can't. And I also like I want to address that. A lot of people in chat are be like, he's probably just laughing on his pile of money. And regardless of what you think about the dude, and I'm with you too. I don't think it was just a cash grab. I mean, expectations, absolutely. He set them too high. He was too vague. But I really think, like, I don't think anybody that puts this much time, especially in a small development studio, on making something. And yes, the game was not near what everybody wanted it to be, but the game still functioned. Like it wasn't, as far as like if something's like a true cash grab. When I think of cash grabs, I think of like the shit that we were talking about with who was the fucking the previous story where Steam pulled off all the digital homicide games. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like I guess it wasn't that level.
No, I mean, I think
So I don't think he's relishing being the number one villain
no,
when it comes to game development on the internet.
I'm sure that like they're probably the most torn up about this, right? Because like you look at this product you spent years of your life on, and like its lasting legacy is not the quality of the game you did build. It's like, it's all of this stuff. It's the fact that like it was hyped up and it hit these huge numbers, and now no one's playing it, right? And like these articles will stick around on the internet for years, and that probably feels really bad. I think that if anything, he did like Hello Games did too good a job. Like Sean Murray did too good a job selling us on his dream of the game, as opposed to selling us on like the game itself. And so it's like it kind of sucks to see that. Yeah, when you have a game like this that isn't nearly like as expansive as people were sold, then people stop playing it.
Sure.
Like you probably have a lot of people that either they finished the game or they just like got bored with it, and now they just don't play it, and it's just one more game sitting in their Steam library. And like that for me, like you were saying, we just sit here and watch it because like this is why, frankly, I don't really pre-order games or order games right when they come out, because like there's no what would I have gotten out of spending $60 on No Man's Sky that I'm not going to get out of like buying it for $5-10 a year from now?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. At that price point, I might even be like, all right, well, it's all dialed down. Let me see exactly. Yeah. If I see this on $10 in the Steam sale, because I mean, sure, I've watched it and stuff, but I'm curious enough. I'll be like, yeah, let me actually try it. And I don't know. And also, I don't want to. I want to make it clear that I think Sean Murray had plenty of fault in this. Like chat's talking about it, but I mean, like the day of release, like his tweets were so like, oh, I wasn't really leading people. You know what I mean? Like he was trying to feign innocence, and I mean, either he's just straight up dumb in the sense of like he didn't realize that all the stuff he said was. But I mean, it definitely felt like somebody not necessarily trying to cover something up, but kind of acting like, oh, I don't really know what I did. And but I still don't think that necessarily like sure, money can make you so happy, but there's no replacement for your entire reputation being destroyed. I don't care how much money you have. I mean, he's essentially right now, as far as he's a pariah, right? I would say, as far as like if you hear the name Sean Murray, I can't think of a person that has been that vilified, and for good reason for lots of it. But at the end of the day, I really don't think this is at all. I mean, I'm sure it's not the outcome that he wanted. And I think if he really wanted it to be a crash grab or whatever else and all this stuff, well, I think it would have panned out a little bit differently. I mean, it still panned out horribly, but I don't think it came from a place of.
If I can offer a metaphor, it feels like you have this new company and you walk around saying that like you found a way to cure cancer, and like it's gonna be awesome. Like think of all the things we could do if cancer's not in our lives, all that. And then like people buy in, they buy into your vision. And then you actually release your product, and like the product is the ham dog. And like okay. And like the ham dog is like cool. I don't like, it's not a bad product, but it's like it's not the thing that you were selling me. And I like the ham dog, but that's like a way different thing than curing cancer. So like
a
Am I?
good analogy. Yeah.
So like,
Yeah, I think you're right.
what that's what it feels like, is like, just, it's not like it's a
Yeah.
bad thing, but it's just a very different thing than like what you said it was going to be. And also, like, it's not nearly as good as what you told me it was supposed to be. So like, if you hadn't have sold it to me in this way, I'd probably like it. But because you sold it to me in this way, like, I can't help but be disappointed, because like, ham dog is not the same as curing cancer.
Yep.
I'm trying to make all our topics,
No, that's
relate to
good.
each
That was
other.
beautiful. That was a melding of our topics with that analogy. That was beautiful. Yeah, no, that's a good way to describe it. Yeah, I think that's a good way of looking at it. So there you go. I mean, and the plus side though, as far
Now
as like
people are
Hello
upset that I
Games,
brought the ham dog into this conversation. What did the ham dog do to deserve to be associated with Hello Games?
damn, now we're gonna get sued, dude. Now it's all coming back, dude. Now we're gonna get sued by the creator of the ham dog for slander and libel for attaching it to Hello. Oh boy, dude. And then
God.
we're gonna get removed off of Twitch.
That's the risk
because
in doing a live show.
Oh my god, dude.
You can't
All the
take back
topics.
mistakes like these.
All the topics, man. Crazy. All right. Well, there you go. Those are all the quick hits, and we have no Katie Zen to do the new releases this week. But Brandon, looks like you put a couple together here.
Yeah, we'll have to just soldier on without him. There are a few things coming out this week, all on Tuesday, which I guess isn't super surprising. A lot of games come out on Tuesday, but all these games are coming out on September 27th. The first one is Forza Horizon 3, which I think most people know as a console game, but it is coming out for PC. And if you find out where you can even buy it, I'd be impressed, because I looked for a link for where you could buy this to just see like what it costs and stuff. I have no idea where you even purchase this thing, presumably somewhere deep within the Microsoft store. So I imagine if you're a Forza fan, you'll find out where you can buy it. But yeah, that whole thing seems like a mess. I think it seemed like I could maybe purchase a PC copy somewhere from Xbox.com, but I still wasn't sure.
Yeah,
so
weird.
that whole thing seems awful.
Yeah.
On Tuesday, I think we talked about this a couple times. Cluster Truck is a new game coming out from Tiny Build. Well, Tiny Build's publishing it. It's from Landfall Games, and it's a game where you jump on trucks, and they're going, and you jump on them, and then you get to the
we've
end.
talked about that before.
Yeah, it's we had talked about it when they released like a little demo for free
was the
as kind of
demo.
a funny thing.
That's right.
But actually, then it was like, I don't know, a viral marketing campaign for what is a real game, and that real game is coming out on Tuesday. So that it's going to be like $12, or it's normally $15. It's 20% off right now if you pre-purchase it. So it seems like it could be okay for a little $15 game. The next episode of Hitman, episode 5, is coming out. And I wanted to put this in here because I've actually heard really good things about this like episodic new Hitman. Have you played any of these, Scott?
I haven't, and this is one that
This feels right up your alley, honestly.
It does. No, absolutely. I need to. This has been a. People have asked if I've played the Hitman. I've not played any of the new stuff, but I've just been hearing fantastic things from pretty much everybody about it. So
yeah,
I definitely need to get in this sandbox.
I want you to play the new Hitman episodes on your stream, because I want to see if you like them, and if you like them, then I will almost certainly buy it. It's just that like I haven't played enough old Hitman to be too invested in the new one, but I've just heard the old Hitman games I feel like kind of had mixed reviews for the most part, but this new Hitman game, like I've heard really good things.
I agree. Universally, I've heard from pretty much everyone that's played it. I mean, I've watched some of it. It looks like a lot of fun. But yeah, I've heard pretty much only good things. So
it feels like a great stream game, honestly.
Yeah. From the kind of shit that you can get into, just because it's so kind of open, which has always been cool about the Hitman games in general, like the way that you could approach situations. But yeah, even kind of more defined in this. So yeah, episode 5 now. Damn, dude, they're up. They're up there.
Yeah, I feel like that just came out not too long ago. I guess they've been cranking those episodes out.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
And then the last one coming out, FIFA 17. If you like FIFA, I'm guessing you probably already have that date marked on your calendar. But FIFA 17 comes out on the 27th as well. So yeah, I mean, decent number of releases. I feel like it sort of continues to ratchet up as we get here toward the end of the year, like toward November. You know, a lot of stuff comes out before Q4. You know, gotta get under the tree for those Christmas gifts and Black Friday sales.
Exactly. Tune into my stream Tuesday where I'll be opening up 1,000 gold packs trying to get Pepe Le Pew, the new soccer star. I'm just throwing. I have no idea about any of that, but
Very
I know you can open
convincing.
packs. I know you can open packs. So I'll see you there for FIFA 17, guys. Please help me get a Pepe Le Pew. All right. I know a lot about football and soccer.
Someone's either going to think that's funny or be really offended.
Or be really offended. How dare the sanctity of football die, sir? Yeah. Oh well.
So we should hop into the viewer questions here. This first one is pretty important. I'm not sure this is a conversation we've had before. But maybe even more, it's an even wider audience, but it's only us two here tonight. So
I feel like we might have, but it would have been I feel like we've definitely had this question, but this is a good refresher because it hasn't been for a long time.
Yeah. So from Brian via email, thank you for your email, by the way. He asks, firstly, is ketchup on eggs blasphemous? So I think that's a pretty pointed question. Do you guys partake in ketchup on eggs? And second, how do you like your eggs? So let's tackle the second one first, because the second one is sort of like a prerequisite to answering the ketchup question.
Totally agree. I totally agree.
I love eggs. I don't think there's a way that I don't like eggs. But
we are on the same page with that.
I eat probably the most scrambled eggs, primarily because they're the easiest to cook. Like you literally, you can't really screw up scrambled eggs unless you like burn them.
Right.
So I eat scrambled eggs the most because they're easy, but I really like, I don't know, I like all eggs, like over easy. I love all of it. Like eggs are so delicious. That's actually probably the reason I like breakfast food so much.
Yeah.
Is because I love eggs, like I love omelets. They're so good.
Totally agree. You basically said everything that I was going to say. We're in sync when it comes to the food stuff, man. You like mayo on your burger, eggs same way. I love eggs pretty much every way. Scrambled because it's the easiest. Absolutely, we'll do ketchup on there, hot sauce as well. But yeah, absolutely. Now I will also say, you're not going to put probably ketchup on a fried egg unless you're having like I will do, I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but if I have like a breakfast sandwich, right, maybe a bacon, egg, and cheese on a bagel or even sausage, then I'll do ketchup on that too sometimes.
Really?
Maybe that's sacrilege, but yeah, it can work with that, and the sandwich is like, obviously just like a normal sandwich condiment in that sense because it's a condiment.
Yeah,
but yeah, I don't know. Like
I
there's absolutely
ketchup on eggs. Here's the thing. So it's like two questions. First, I don't think ketchup on eggs is blasphemous. Because that's a very strong word. I would not look down upon anyone putting ketchup on eggs. I don't personally really put ketchup on eggs, unless the only time I probably would is like if it's like an eggs and hash or something.
Okay.
Something where there's like some meat involved that would benefit from ketchup. But no, generally, like you were saying, if I'm having eggs, I'll normally do like Cholula or Tabasco or something. I'll put hot sauce on it. But I don't really put ketchup on eggs. I'm not opposed to it. Like if you wouldn't be able to troll me if you like came up behind me and splattered a bunch of ketchup on the eggs. Like I would think that was a weird thing to do, but I wouldn't be upset.
Yeah.
But I don't do it with sandwiches or anything. Like I love egg sandwiches. Egg sandwiches maybe actually like my favorite food, like my favorite food item.
Really, you've never put ketchup on an egg? That's interesting because a lot of people in chat are the same way with me with ketchup.
No, I do mayonnaise. So like I will.
Yes.
Here's egg sandwich is the time to do like.
Oh, you are gonna make so many people in chat mad. You're gonna
your
make
nicest
so many people
mayonnaise
in chat
for an egg sandwich. So like that's where I'll do like a nice sriracha mayo. If I somehow had the skill set to make like a nice aioli of some sort, like that, I would use that. But yeah, egg sandwiches, that is prime mayo territory. I put like a kind of spice mix, like salt and spices on it, and like some nice lightly toasted bread, not too crispy, and you drop an egg on there. Oh, it's so good. I just eat those all the time.
Okay, so where you use mayo, I would probably use more ketchup, but I have had mayo on breakfast sandwich, absolutely as well. There used to be a little cafe with that we used to be right near the machinima offices when I lived in LA, and they had a crazy good this sounds kind of weird, but so turkey, they would have like really fresh carved turkey. I would get turkey carved with fried egg, spinach, mayo, and bacon on a bagel.
Huh.
Holy mother.
Oh
It was
wow.
incredible. And you wouldn't think necessarily turkey with egg,
That
but
feels
it
like a
works
lot to fit
actually.
on a bagel.
It was a lot. It was a lot. But dude, it was incredible. And I also, and so I don't know. I feel like eggs can go with anything, but I love
Yeah.
that sandwich. I mean, it's more of like, you could eat it for, I mean, you could eat it anytime. Eggs are good at whenever, but it was so good. And that was where I had mayo on it too. And that was one of the first times I ever did mayo on kind of any kind of breakfast sandwich. But mayo
Oh,
and
it's
turkey
so.
already makes sense anyway. So
Oh my God. Like just egg sandwich. I'm telling you, egg sandwich. You make an egg. You cook the yolk through mostly because you don't want it like completely dripping off the sandwich. But no, you put mayonnaise on both sides of the bread. Do like a little bit of salt and pepper. Like whatever you like to make it a little spicier. And that's just I could eat it
yep,
all day.
I'm done with you. I'm done.
I
I'm
can't
totally done
believe
with it.
that people don't like
Dude,
mayo on
I'm
a
not
on an
kidding when
egg
I say mayo
sandwich.
is the most divisive. I have between what kind of pizza people like, which is a common thing in chat when people
That's
are always
true.
like deep dish or die in my chat, and I just well anyway, we're not going to go there. But then when it comes to mayo too, I've never seen people more. I feel like it would almost be. We got to do a Twitter poll on mayo maybe next week.
We
Like
should.
just like do you like mayo or no? Because people don't feel halfway about it. I
Yeah.
feel like people either like mayo and appreciate it for all the great things that you can use mayo for, or they hate it.
I like
It's
I
crazy.
can understand people's palates differing in the case of like a lot of foods, but I think like mayonnaise on an egg sandwich, for instance, the
Yeah.
only way that in my mind, like I am not capable of understanding how you wouldn't like any of those flavors unless you were literally allergic to
Yeah.
one or
I
more of
get it.
them. Like you had a negative association with them because you were actually like allergic to them.
Somebody in chat said that it feels like everyone hating on mayo is just young and haven't given it a chance. It's like a texture thing, maybe I don't know. I feel like that because also I also made this argument too about how many things actually contain mayo beyond just like the fact that you can put it on a sandwich, but like even salads. You know what I mean? I'm talking about
Yeah.
like chicken salad, all that other kind of stuff. Like
Absolutely.
mayo is just
I
so
feel like you
used
you
and
could eat
fucking
you could
everywhere.
eat mayonnaise without even realize you're eating it. Like I
Yeah.
mean, if you didn't like mayonnaise, I bet I could put a really thin layer of it in an egg sandwich and you wouldn't even know. You would just be like, "Why is this egg sandwich so delicious?" And afterward, I'd be like, "Ha, I'll tell you why, because there's mayonnaise on it."
Yeah. Well, see, and then now we're getting to people that are saying, "No, I like sweet chili mayo, spicy mayo." They people don't like the just normal straight up mayo.
I mean, like that's
Hmm.
those are.
That's fine. I
I
mean,
think mayonnaise. Look, mayonnaise is like a blank slate, right? Like
yeah,
if mayonnaise is a great area of opportunity for culinary innovation, like
sure,
because
yeah, because it's a base.
I like mayo, but mayo is not the end game. The end game
No,
is like truffle aioli. It's like sriracha mayo. It's Tabasco mayo. It's like infuse other flavors with mayonnaise. Mayonnaise is just the base.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
I'm right there with you, but I'll take some
You
normal
know what? If
regular
I
mayonnaise
ever, I
too.
don't know, I'm never going to be able to run for political office, but I swear to God, if I ever get in any position of power, even if it's just have an employer or two, and they don't like mayo, mandate. I'm going to be like, listen, you're going to eat mayo till you like it, because you don't get it, dude. Like until you guys, we're going to mandate that everybody must pledge allegiance to mayo, because
You're gonna be in
you
bed
know
with Big Mayo.
I'm going to get in bed with Hellman's or whatever else, dude. And everyone's gonna have to eat mayo on their sandwiches. I'm just not gonna allow it. Is that a dry sandwich? I'm sorry. Are you eating a turkey sandwich? Are you eating a turkey sandwich without mayo on it? Excuse me, sir.
See, I actually
Oh,
don't like. How do you even eat a turkey sandwich
it's so dry.
without
I
some
don't
kind of
know.
lubricant?
I mean, maybe people will say mustard, but that's not the same. I mean, you can do mayo and mustard on a
You
turkey
could do
sandwich.
mustard with ham, but like
Yeah,
mustard is like it's not nearly as universal as mayonnaise. Like mayonnaise can work on just about anything. Mustard only works on like a small set of things.
yes, totally agree.
Yeah.
Totally.
All right.
All
Well,
right. Well, we've already.
there are people that like mayonnaise and people that are wrong, and I think we've been
That's
able
right.
to identify a lot of those people
It's all
tonight.
right. I'm seeing a lot of people that are wrong, though. For a fact, I know that they're young and inexperienced in life so far, so that's
Yeah.
fine. It's okay. I'm just gonna put that like how many people are gonna be so triggered. I'm 47 and I've disliked mayo since the day I tried my mom's devil egg. You can send a letter in and tell me that. All right, that's fine. But for the majority, I'm seeing a lot of young people in this chat that are like, I don't like mayo.
Leave your wrong opinions in a 5-star podcast review.
Just review it and tell me how wrong I am. Okay, that's fine. All right.
We have another topic I don't think is going to be quite as controversial, but I'll be interested. Maybe I'll be surprised. From iFarons on Twitter, candy corn, yay or nay? I personally love it. This is him talking. This is not me. He's saying, I personally love it, but hate that I love it because it is pretty gross. And I feel like I think that's not an uncommon opinion. Is like some people eat it, but it's one of those foods that you look back, like you look at an empty bag of candy corn and you're like, why did I eat this? This is garbage.
Yeah, I think candy corn is candy corn is just such a waste of not even calories, but like if you're gonna eat candy, like candy corn, maybe a few handfuls. Like sure, I'll eat it during Halloween or whatever else, but it's not something that like I really have any kind of fondness for.
Yeah.
And I agree because the texture, it's waxy.
It's
like there's nothing about. It's not horrible. It's not the worst thing ever.
It's not
but
even
I don't.
a fun food to eat. It's
No,
just
but
like
it's not even
sugar.
fun.
It's like waxy sugar.
Yeah.
And so it's bad for you. It's bad for your teeth, and it's not even like that sweet. It's like they found a way to put a ton of sugar into something and then still make it like not as good as it should be.
That's true. That's a good description. Yeah.
Like you compare candy corn to other foods like, chocolate bar or other things. I bet candy corn probably beats out some really delicious stuff in terms of like the calories and fat and all that.
Sure. I mean, I've been pretty vocal about my hate of Tootsie Rolls. Tootsie Rolls are absolute the garbage shit at the bottom of your Halloween, at the bottom of your bag. Like, again, some people really like Tootsie Rolls, but again, edible, but compared to the other stuff, they're a very low tier when it comes to candy. And I think candy corn's in the same kind of category as a Tootsie Roll, where it's just like, you could eat one or two, but like, why? Like,
I feel like
I'd almost rather eat nothing.
Here's the thing. I think this is the kind of mental exercise you go through when you get older, when you graduate from not just being able to eat literally all candy ever and like not gain weight, not really care, like when you're a kid. And so like I used to eat whatever I got for Halloween because like I'm gonna eat all of it.
Beggars can't be choosers.
But like now in this stage of my life, I'm like, look, these are calories going into my body. So am I going to waste that on like a Tootsie Roll or like something I actually really like? Like if I'm going to have something sweet, it's going to be something good. It's going to be like chocolate I like or like cheesecake or like some kind of dessert. But like I'm not just going to like grab a handful of Tootsie Rolls and toss those back cuz like all of a sudden I've eaten 500 calories and like I've gotten nothing out of it.
And I've never no enjoyment out of it. I'm just like exactly.
Candy corn is actually like there's just from my perspective, there's no redeemable reason to eat candy corn because there is no one, I don't think anyone can tell me that candy corn is their favorite candy. If you tell me candy corn's your favorite candy, I don't know if we can be friends.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I can't imagine there exists a person who would actually say that, but I mean, it is a big world, but
you can like candy corn, but if candy corn is your favorite thing, if you would rather have no other candy than candy corn, I will question your sanity.
Yeah, I can't imagine there's anybody that feels that way. People in the chat are discussing Tootsie the fruit flavored Tootsie Rolls, but those aren't. I'm talking about the original flavored Tootsie Rolls. I've had the fruit flavored ones; those are much more. But yeah, no, but the stock and the normal Tootsie Rolls,
just the normal flavor is
not
easy. It's easy to pass on. It's like it's not something that tempts me. If you have one, I'm like, no, I'm good.
Right.
Whereas like if you have a Twix bar, you know what? Yeah, I'll have a Twix bar.
Oh, absolutely. Twix are great. Now the real question is, do you? Yeah, people in the chat. Do you like? Aiden said this, but he dips his Tootsie Rolls in mayo, and believe it or not, I believe that would improve the Tootsie
I
Roll.
bet
I
it
think you're
would.
on the right track. I think you're on the right
I think
track.
some people are trolling, but like I would try that at
I
least.
would maybe it would. Who knows, dude? I would definitely give that a try. Uh,
Hmm.
Damn. So I'm gonna go with nay then on candy corn. I think
Yeah,
that's what
no,
I'm realizing.
I'm definitely a nay. But like
I'm a
I've
nay.
eaten it in my life. It's just not. I think as I grow older, I recognize that like there's no value in eating it. If I'm gonna eat candy, I'm gonna eat something that I really like. And
Right.
so I think candy corn. The only on you know what? I don't mean to belabor this topic, but like the
Yeah.
only
Yeah.
way candy corn even still exists is because of Halloween.
No, it
People
is. Oh,
people have such a
100%.
glut of candy, just like that people are willing to eat anything
Corn.
because they're just
Yeah.
shoving candy in their faces.
It's just-
Like candy corn could not get away with like being something people buy for any other holiday.
If candy corn came out nowadays, and not people in chat were linking when it came out in the 1800s, candy corn could not exist as an actual. I don't think if candy corn came out like and it was a new thing and tried to compete in this market, you'd think candy corn. That's a legacy ass candy.
That's
When,
true.
before there was fucking actual good shit to eat, and I think Tootsie Rolls is the same thing. That's why they made fucking fruit Tootsie Rolls because it's
Candy
like, oh
corn
shit,
only
we
exists because because like it's something you grew up with. Like it's
yeah,
already
it's all
because it's already in the
nostalgia.
market. It's been on the market longer
Never
than like any of the other candy you're eating today. So like that's the only way it gets by is because there's already the infrastructure built. Like you're not tell me one person today who's building a candy corn factory. It doesn't happen.
No, absolutely not. I'm actually now fascinated about are there multiple candy corn manufacturers? Is it one candy corn? Let's see here real quick.
I wouldn't be
Because I want to
surprised
know
if it's
if
all
it's just
controlled
like
by one company.
yeah, if it's one company. Okay, found around Halloween. There's 3 colors of the candy. It's made from sugar, corn syrup, and confectioner's wax, artificial coloring. And
That's all
others.
good for you.
Sounds great. All right, yeah, and this is what people were linking. It was created in the 1800s by somebody in Philly. God damn it, man! Why you got to? Of course, it was Philly. And they began production at the turn of the century, and they called the product originally chicken feed. Believe it or not, and I think actually they were ahead of their time because now thinking about candy corn, I think this would be. I think for chickens this would be a great treat. But I'm not a chicken. But
That's
go ahead
true.
and throw this for chickens.
It
I'm sure
seems
they
like
would have a
pretty,
sugar high.
like a pretty cheap little chicken treat. That's
Yeah,
actually true.
maybe that was originally what it was intended for fucking chickens. That makes a
Wow.
lot of sense.
That's actually very educational.
Wow, dude. So I'm trying to see if of the variants. Yeah, no, the recipe remains the same today. They
I
haven't
couldn't
changed
name a
much.
single company that makes candy corn. It's not
I don't-
like it's a company like, you know, Hershey's or anything like that you'd recognize. I bet it's some nameless conglomerate that controls the entire candy corn like distribution network.
So it's owned by the Jelly Belly Candy Company now. So
Oh,
in
okay.
2001,
So
the company
Jelly
was
Belly-
renamed. So I'm assuming Jelly Belly owns the patent, I
So
guess. to
Jelly
make this
Belly
stuff.
locked down the candy corn
Yes.
company.
I think
Okay.
so.
They
I
got
think so.
swallowed up. They probably see the people that sold it. They knew it was on its way out. They knew that basically that candy only lives because people continue to accept it.
Yep. Yeah. No, I totally agree.
There'll be a day when Walmart says, you know what, we don't have any more
Enough.
room on the shelf for candy corn.
Enough. You know, I wonder if there's a. You know what though? This is actually making me think though, because maybe there is a market. There is a market. This is a whole. So people, what you have to do is shift your product focus a little bit because there is clearly this nostalgia factor, right? People grew up eating
Yeah.
the shitty candy corn. But what if you could keep a similar formula, maybe even the waxy texture that people love, but actually make it taste good? Like there's a market for that.
That's
maybe to
true.
come in and swoop in. Like, because I agree, because like the problem is it's just like you don't even, it doesn't even taste that good. But if you could actually make it taste decent and still fill that hole, but maybe it's all about the fact that you grew up with it, so maybe that wouldn't even take
I
off.
feel like that's the thing. It's a pure nostalgia play that, you know what, like you might see a handful of candy corn around Halloween and think,
Right.
I haven't had candy corn in a long time. You know, I'll have a little
try
bit
it.
here,
And then you're
because
like-
it's, you know, 'tis the season, right? I'll have a little bit of candy corn, and just the fact that there's enough of you, the one person that's willing to eat a handful of candy corn one time a year,
That's right. What?
is enough to keep it stocked on shelves every single Halloween. That's capitalism at work.
It really is. It really is. Well, kudos to candy corn for surviving this long. But like you said, maybe finally There will be a stop put to it at some point.
One of these days, kids are going to demand better. I mean, kids are
Yeah.
getting smarter every year.
I'll tell you, I'm not passing candy corn down to my kids. There will be
Yeah,
no candy corns.
that's
And
the
I
thing.
swear to
What
God, if
kind
they
of
go to a
parent?
house,
What kind of
yeah,
parent is buying candy corn these days? Like,
no.
I would rather walk by your house with the light off and not even stop than for you to give me candy corn.
Yeah. It's not. And I'm gonna teach them about the danger. I'm just gonna be like, if they bring it home, right, and I look into their bag and there's just some scattered candy corn at the bottom above it, much like you would leave for a chicken if you were to throw it upon the ground, I will say, no, don't even. I don't even want you to. Don't even put it in your mouth. But
If someone,
not worth it.
hold on, I don't mean to get into like the way Halloween works these days, but like if someone is handing your child
just dropping candy corn in their bag.
if they're taking an open container of candy corn and just grabbing a handful of it and dropping it into your child's bag, I'm
Can
gonna go
you
ahead and say
Halloween any more than that? Can you be?
I'm gonna go ahead and say you probably should not allow them to
Yeah,
eat that candy
that's
corn.
That's true, dude.
Oh
Holy
man,
fuck. Holy
oh
fuck.
Halloween,
Yeah, and also, yeah, I
fun
mean,
time.
I mean, it could have mini razor blades in it for all we know. I mean, if it's
Yeah.
not wrapped, you really shouldn't let your kid eat it anyway. But
I just have this mental image now of like, this lady walking up with like a pumpkin. She's walking up to her door with like a big plastic hollowed out pumpkin basket that's just full to the brim of candy corn that has already been opened, and she just grabs a big handful of it and just drops it all in this child's bag.
and imagine this child has never tasted the disappointment of candy corn, and is maybe even just very young, maybe 4 or 5 years old, and reaches to take that first piece of, and no doubt this is stale. This is candy corn that she has had left over for probably 20 or 30 years,
Oh, it's just
and they
like
put it into
stale.
their mouth.
It's got like a little bit of sweat on it from her hands.
Some
Just-
dust
oh
because
my
it's been collecting
God.
it. And they bite into that piece of fucking disappointment that was created in the 1800s by Jesus Christ.
That's how you ruin
by
memories
George
for children.
Vinegar. Yeah, that's how you ruin it. And don't, like, the world already has enough pain and suffering, like, that we don't need candy corn in it. Like, we really don't. And Halloween should be a fun time, like, for kids. All right. So just say that we need to really start. Just say no to candy. We really should campaign to get this off the shelves. I
Look,
think, or we could maybe write directly to Jelly Belly and be like, just stop making it.
Look, every single person listening or watching this cast right now, in let's be generous and say like 10 or 20 years, right? You're all going to have to come to the side of Halloween, which is the giving side, right? Right now you might be young enough to still go trick or treating or whatever, but in 20 years you're going to be the one at the door handing out candy every night. So we're going to start now, right? We're going to start making sure that the people giving out candy are giving out quality candy. And
Quality
if you don't want to participate, you can shut the door and turn the light off.
You don't have to actually give. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think people feel compelled. But if you're giving candy corn away, if that's like all you have, then you're instead of destroying the sanctity of Halloween candy and the whole process, you should shut your door and pretend you're not home.
Yeah,
like that's better for everyone.
Just like, pretend you're not home,
totally,
right? Instead of like having your neighbors and everyone in the neighborhood hate you.
Exactly. Just keep the door shut. Good advice. Wow, as normally I didn't think this was going to be such a triggering topic, but the more we got into it, the more bullshit we continued to uncover.
That's the thing is, I feel like we uncover. It's like investigative journalism. Like we're peeling back a layer at a time, that you don't realize how complex topics like these are.
No, they really are, and you don't realize how strong your opinions are about them because they're kind of sick. Because I mean, again, I wouldn't probably even think about candy corn except for if I happened across it on Halloween or if this question had come up. So they just kind of lay dormant, these opinions that we have that we hold very strongly, and then they explode. So anyway, I think, and isn't it funny how we feel strongly about food on this podcast? It's always food. I feel like that we have the most.
I mean, but food. It's also
But
like
food is,
part of the strong feelings here are like tied to a holiday. It's like, there's food. Food is only a part of this equation.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And we do have. I have to say, I do. I don't want to say that everybody hates candy corn. So people in chat are very upset, and clearly, I will shout you out. Jumpman Rob, very adamant that he enjoys candy corn, and I'm not. I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong, Jumpman Rob, because taste is a matter, I suppose, of opinion. But I think you might want to go to a doctor and make sure there's not some kind of cancer going on in your taste buds, buddy. That's all I'll say. But
I mean, it's okay if you like it. I'm just saying, if you like it more than every other candy you could
right.
have at Halloween or give out at Halloween,
Yeah.
like that's where I don't understand it. I don't understand how someone, aside from cost, like I get that you can get pounds of candy corn for nothing,
Sure,
right?
it's cheap.
Let's take cost out of the equation. What makes you want to walk into a Walgreens and
And
walk out
buy
of it with a
with candy corn.
handful of like bags
I know.
of candy corn under your shoulder? Tell me what motivates you to do that.
Exactly. And if I mean, Jeff and Rob, if you're that person, maybe you are the. We need to
We
explore
need to
this
hear
more.
from you. Yeah.
We need to hear from you. Write us an email or stuff. Honestly, Jumpman Rob, if you feel this strongly about it, and you're one of those people that will go into a CVS during a Halloween season and buy a fucking $3.99 bag, jumbo bag of candy corn, I want to know why you're doing it. Just please write us an email. I would love to hear it. I would love to hear it. All right.
Or a 5-star podcast review.
Or a review, even that too. However you want to do it. All right. So we have two quick TwitchCon related questions. And if this is perfect timing to tell people and we'll say it again at the end, but there will be no podcast next week because I will be at TwitchCon, Brad will be at TwitchCon, Brandon will be at TwitchCon, Katie Zen will be at Family Video, unfortunately, but he'll be there in spirit.
Be at a Cheap Trick concert.
Yeah, or a Cheap Trick concert. But yeah, we're all going to be at TwitchCon, and that's very exciting. Going to be happening next week. So just keep that in mind. There will be no cast. But we have a question from Not So Ordinary Gamer for us about TwitchCon. From the cast attending, what are you most excited for at TwitchCon? Which is a good question. Let you start first.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a weird question to answer as someone obviously so closely connected to Twitch. It's hard for me to say what I'm most excited for because it's like the whole weekend is sort of just a fun whirlwind of things that I like and care about. But the thing I'm most excited for is seeing a lot of people in person who you really only know over the internet, or you don't really know over the internet, but it's like a chance to meet a lot of awesome people. And so like what I've found is that there are a lot of people, or at least what it seems like, is that a lot of people are going to TwitchCon that don't actually go to other conventions.
Right.
And so,
Yeah,
I mean, we some of us will go to like PAX and we'll go to various conventions. But some people like are going to TwitchCon and it's the only thing they're really going to. And so I'm just excited to meet a whole lot of people and, and see people that in some cases I might not have seen since last TwitchCon. So that's, I feel like that's the same answer I might give for any other convention, but this one in particular because it's like the highest density of cool people that I look forward to seeing, and I'm excited for like seeing the people from KBMOD that'll be there, from the community, from Scott and Brad and all them. Like it's just a chance to get to see people that you don't see all the time in person, but that you might hang out with day in day out online, and so I'm super excited for that.
My answer is exactly the same. Like, definitely just spending time with the people that probably get to see. I didn't go to PAX, any of the PAXs or anything this year. This is probably my only con I'm going to be going to this year. So, yes, just seeing people that I haven't seen all year, catching up. And again, like, it's always fun to, like, go to panels and do whatever else, and there's some stuff that's going to be going on. But I feel like a lot of it's all about the time that you actually spend with the people that you want to see there. So that's what I'm excited about. And yeah, I totally agree. You basically stole my thunder.
Speaking of that, just as a quick plug, I think we are going to have some sort of KBMOD meetup at TwitchCon. Yes. But I don't know any details. Like, I'm not sure because I haven't been to the San Diego Convention Center before, so I'm not sure we actually know the time or place yet. But I would say we will promo more in a second. But follow our Twitter account if you want to meet up with us and other folks from KBMOD, because we will announce the location and coordinate more on Twitter as the date gets closer. But it'll probably be on like that Friday or Saturday, somewhere most likely outside of the convention center in case like people that don't have a ticket want to come.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, keep an eye out for that if you're going to be around TwitchCon or the San Diego area this next weekend, and we'd love to see you guys. And then the second question here from Queen Cypriana: is Scott going to dab at TwitchCon?
No. The answer is no. Though I say no now.
He says no now.
I say no now, but there is a strong possibility that maybe with a few, I mean, there's going to be multiple parties. There may be some beverages imbibed.
There is a state in which I believe Scott would dab.
Yeah. Yes. If I get to that state, all bets are off.
I think that
it is possible.
There's as good a chance he reaches that state at TwitchCon as there is any other time.
That's a good point.
So I think we'll say the jury is out on that one.
Exactly.
Whether there's evidence that Scott dabs at TwitchCon, that's a different question. But but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that we could make it happen.
Yeah, exactly. If in my current sober state, I'm saying no. But like you said, Brandon, there's a state of being that I could.
This is calm,
enter.
Reasonable podcast, Scott.
Yes, exactly.
This is not the same Scott that will be attending various events at TwitchCon.
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you guys for your questions, and I'm really excited because we've had multiple reviews the past few weeks, and this week we have just one that we're gonna do, but it's a doozy. It's a good one. So again, if you want to do a podcast, if you want a chance to get your review read on the cast, all you have to do is use your current iTunes account that I'm sure all of you have. Okay, everybody in the world has an iTunes account. Steve Jobs, before the beginning of time, assigned everybody an iTunes account. And if you forgot your password, just go back to iTunes, apple.com, register for an iTunes account, search the KBMOD podcast, and leave us a 5-star review. That is required to be able to get your review read. And then just tell us what the podcast means to you in the content of it. It can also be more abstract stuff, like maybe your opinion on the hot dog being a sandwich, or how fat you think I am.
How wrong we are about candy corn.
How wrong we are about candy corn. Why mayo is disgusting. It could be any number of topics, but the key thing is you need to leave a 5-star review because that's what this podcast deserves. But then you can get maybe your, I would say 15 minutes of fame, sometimes longer, sometimes less, and we'll read the review. So the review this week comes from a user named Hold My Ducky 1, and it's a 5-star review, of course, and the title is "It's Okay, the podcast thinks it's another cat," which is already starting.
A nice spicy callback
to
an
meme.
Old KBMOD meme.
Old KBMOD meme, yes. And it reads as follows: Dear APL, Dear APL, Brandon, the guy who works at Blockbuster, and the guy who plays Rust or whatever. This morning, while I was listening to my regular food podcast, also known as the KBMOD podcast, eating my Entenmann's chocolate chip cookies with a side of candy corn, God, he's so on point, and some steak from Denny's left over from last night, while sipping an ice-cold glass of mug root beer. Jesus. The root beer was cold, but not as cold as my freezer, which has my backstock 30 pounds of frozen Wendy's fondue fries that I was saving for dessert. Holy sentence, Batman. That is quite a meal, Brandon. That is quite a meal. Well, I noticed that many of my favorite foods are subject to relentless discrimination as you go on and on about garbage tier foods, such as Hot Pockets and corn dogs. Wow. Dude, it's crazy that, of course, of all nights that we would choose. I mean, this review was picked before we even got on the candy corn topic.
Yeah.
So this is crazy. All while you drench your pathetic throats with eggnog, which is far worse than pumpkin spice lattes on all levels. Okay, he's feeling strongly about our food opinions. And yes, avocados are garbage, and it's such a cash-in, barn door. Open your eyes. Great cast other than that. Wow. Holy
man,
shit, dude.
That is a lot to unpack.
That is, wow. Some very strong opinions.
Yeah, I do want to reiterate that we picked this review before we even
we really did
before we even grabbed the questions or anything for this cast. This review was sent in this week, 5 days ago. So
So on, so yeah, really hitting home here, especially
wow.
with what we discussed tonight.
Okay. Well, we got. I
So
mean, I guess we have found at least one person who appears to
yeah,
disagree with almost all of our points
almost everything.
about food as of
Yeah,
late.
yeah.
Uh,
Like, I mean, I don't know if I don't know if anybody actually enjoys mug root beer on Iraq. Like, I don't. I feel like that could be a
I don't
troll,
think
but
anyone looks forward to mug root beer.
no,
Like
no.
you might have it because you want root beer and you're at an establishment that doesn't have anything better.
Yeah, sure.
But
I
like
guess.
I don't think anyone's going up to the counter. And again, I mean, if this is you, definitely write in and let us know because I'd love to
Yeah,
understand like just your mental process on all levels. But
yeah.
I don't think anyone walks up to the counter at an establishment and says, "Hey, do you have any mug root beer?"
I don't know if that's ever happened.
And
I agree.
someone is like, "No, we've got like IBC or we've got like this local brand," and they're like,
Like Barks.
no, that's okay, that's all right. I'll have water instead." I don't think anyone does that.
Absolutely. No, I don't think so either. But he really Brandon. He really goes after you here because we know how
Yeah,
a fan of Hot Pockets you are. What a big fan.
yeah.
And corn dogs. Now I'm okay. Listen, I'm not as big. I'm not near as big of a Hot Pocket fan as you are. But so we may differ on that. But how dare he's coming after corn dogs?
Yeah.
Like corn dogs?
Yeah, like if you're gonna call something garbage tier food, like
Okay.
look, I can be reasonable here. I'm not saying Hot Pockets are like great food. I'm just saying I like Hot
Yeah.
Pockets. But if you're gonna say that both Hot Pockets and corn dogs
corn
are on like
dogs are
the same
garbage?
are like the same tier of garbage,
I can't.
that like I'm not sure that we're talking on the same level. Like corn dogs are clearly a higher level than Hot Pockets. And I don't think either.
Agreed.
Look, you know what? If you said Hot Pockets were garbage tier, I wouldn't be upset, right? Because like it's low, it's pretty
Sure.
low, like it's
That's
pretty low
pretty
tier. But corn dogs, are not garbage tier. They're at least one tier above garbage.
Agreed. I don't think that's fair. I'm gonna have to call him out on that. And also, I didn't advocate. I didn't say avocados are garbage. I just said that they get put. I think they're the use. They just get used too much, and it's just a marketing thing. I think they can be. I think an avocado can be fantastic in the right situation.
Capitalized avocado too.
Exactly.
So it's
exactly.
it's like avocados is like a name brand to him, and it's so upsetting.
Yeah, he really doesn't like it. I mean, I agree that avocado. I mean, they are pushing the farming industry or what is pushing avocado
But
for sure. I don't
feel
disagree.
like we use
But
Scott. We live in a time of like such extreme language, and
yeah,
sometimes I'm guilty of this too. Okay, but avocados. He says avocados are garbage. Garbage.
it's
That feels
strong.
a little too far.
Yes. Yes. I agree. I agree. So it's hard to know. Again, hold my duck. You may have just been.
Also, can we refrain from the personal attacks while you drench your pathetic throats? Why is my throat pathetic? You can
I don't
insult
know.
you can
I
insult
don't
the
know.
eggnog, okay, but you're drenching your pathetic throats with eggnog? Aren't you trying to say the eggnog is pathetic?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm just
Uh,
let's keep we should keep this objective, you know? I
Mm.
think we're willing to accept differing opinions.
Yeah, we're
But,
okay with that.
You know.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
But look,
I mean, unless he's had
I'm not going to rip the pumpkin spice latte from your hand. That's fine.
no.
That's
We
fine.
can exist in a world where you have a pumpkin spice latte and also enjoy how delicious eggnog is. Like
Yeah.
you know,
Different,
a little bit extreme.
different strokes for different folks, and there's a time and place too. If I'm in the mood for a latte, I don't really like pumpkin spice lattes as we've talked about, but if I'm in the
Sure.
mood for a latte, that's a very different mood than an eggnog mood.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
those are
totally
two
agree.
different states of mind.
Very different. Very different.
Well, thank you for the review. Hold
But,
my
I mean,
ducky one.
But this is why I mean, hey, strong opinions. We expect them on the Foodcast or the
Absolutely.
KBMOD podcast,
No,
as this is called.
It's good to it's good to have our assumptions checked sometimes, and I think he has checked just about all of them in one review. So
He has.
look, we appreciate your viewpoint, appreciate you writing in.
Yeah.
Most of all, appreciate you rating 5 stars and being eligible to have this conversation in the first place.
Exactly. Well done. Hold my ducky. We may differ on opinions on certain things, but we don't differ on the fact that this podcast is 5-star worthy.
That's right.
Thank you very much. All right. Holy shit. I think that's going to do it for episode 251, a small intimate cast with just me and Brandon, a historic cast, really. Absolutely. And man, we had a lot to talk about.
I'll remember this one forever.
I will too. I will absolutely remember this podcast until the day I die, episode 251. If you want to check more KBMOD stuff out, which you should, kbmod.com. You can follow KBMOD on Twitter at KBMOD Gaming. That's our handle on there. And KBMOD.com, we've got reviews that go up there. We've got game reviews, hardware stuff, different stuff.
We had a review of Recore recently.
Yes, Recore was on there.
Probably have new build guides coming out at some point here shortly. So, yeah, lots of good stuff on the site.
Exactly. So check that out. You can follow me at APL Fisher. You can follow Brandon at Volition, VOL1TION. And there will be no cast next week. Just remember that. We will be at TwitchCon. But we will resume, God willing, after TwitchCon. So you'll see us for episode 252 in 2 weeks. And yeah, I think that's going to do it. Unless you have anything else to say, Brandon.
No, just if you're going to be at TwitchCon or anything, definitely, come say hi to us. Don't be a stranger. And follow our Twitter account and come to the meetup and come hang out.
Do it. All right.
We will see you in we'll see you in 2 weeks. So there is no podcast next week. Just another reminder. So if you won't be at TwitchCon, I guess follow us on Twitter, and we will make you wish you were at TwitchCon. But yeah, I think that's going to do it. So we will see you all later.
Bye. Don't get the RFID chip. Yatta.